that was the number one thing that pissed me off. There wasn't a conversation like, hey, what do you think we should do?
Welcome to episode 4, Hit a Wall podcast. Haven't hit any walls recently after all my racing, so that's a big tick. But the 6 hour was a shocker. The wheel fell off the car. So always check your wheel bearings, everybody. But
so that's what you've been up to lately?
Well,
Batho 6 hour?
Pay driver. You know, I pay the money. The mechanics are sorted. I just rock up and jump in the car.
Why didn't you pay for an extra wheel? What happened there?
So unfortunately, the car just decided to have a moment. But good TV time, and all the sponsors loved it. So that was a massive win.
So
but,
what do we got here? 4 of us.
We've got four people in, and someone that I know very well, Asher Johnston, who's been racing XLs for many years, multiple XL champion. How many have you won?
I lost 6.
Oh, right.
6, 7.
Lost count.
That's a big
or
word.
7, I
That's
think.
basically the world champion.
How many? Richard might know more than me.
Oh, I wouldn't have a clue.
I think 6.
Yeah.
So 6-time national champion. Was it national?
One national, 6 state, I think.
That's big numbers.
Professional.
So that's what you're going to get to, you reckon, Dusty?
I know at one point I will with the right coaching. And speaking of other XL drivers, because there's a guy in the room that has raced XLs, Richard Crail. He has driven an XL
You have
before.
raced? You've raced
I've
one?
never
or
raced one.
You've driven one?
Driven
Okay.
one?
Very well, too.
Oh, that's a lie, but I thank you for it, my friend.
Malala?
I couldn't
Yeah,
find it on
okay.
YouTube.
Yeah.
It's not. I could not find it on YouTube. There's a video of him driving the XL on
very
YouTube
good.
and documenting it. It was
There is.
Andrew
What?
Young's car.
Yeah.
It was such a funny.
Did the
because
wheel, like Greg Rust, did the wheel stay on?
The wheels stayed on.
Okay.
Rusty's a very good friend of mine, and I learnt from him. 2 things I learned from that. One is I've since hidden that video because I've been mocked over it by my mate over here more times than I'd like to count. 2, and you'd know this, Dusty, doing some video editing that you do. If you speed a Hyundai XL in-car up 400%, it sounds like a mid-90s V10 Formula 1 car.
It does, and that's what I was trying to get that clip because it literally. I've done it before. You speed it up, makes the car look it's quick.
It does.
Is that like, what are they, 3-cylinder or 4-cylinders?
4-cylinder.
XL 4.
4. So,
you speed-
because I used to drive a front-wheel drive in Speedway and there was 3 cylinders. So I had to straight.
What's a front? Who drives front wheel drive in Speedway?
My first race car.
Junior street
junior-
stocks.
No, junior sedans.
Ah.
When I was like 12 years old, driving race cars. But I was trying to do the maths with the V10 4-cylinder. It just still doesn't work out, does it?
For whatever reason, when you speed the video up,
Yeah.
it sounds like a V10 Formula 1 car.
So what's
which
your
is
thoughts?
great.
We'll diverge, as we always do. So the V10 talk that's currently coming out, is this just rumours that they're
Well,
trying to
it's-
merge towards this?
It's never going to happen, but wouldn't it be great if it did?
But that's what the spectacle, we need
Yeah.
that sort of sound back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my sort of
But
quick little
why are
comment.
they bringing it up? Why is it being brought up all of a
Well, I
sudden?
think the new FIA president, it's in question at the moment.
He's not been the most popular person
No.
in the world. I
No,
think
he
it's
hasn't.
safe to say since he's become president of the FIA. And I feel like it was a bit of an attempt to pander to the masses
Okay.
who do clamour for those good old days of Formula 1.
Yeah.
I'm one of them. I'm
Yes.
not a massive fan of a current Formula 1 car as much as I love F1. But yeah, I think it was it was like, free kittens for everybody kind of
but
comment.
it's not. But that could be worse off when it doesn't actually happen.
Well,
so you
no,
say
exactly right.
something
You
like
build
the politician.
anticipation for something, and it's exactly like he's a politician, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funny about
There's
that.
more politics in motorsport than there is in
actual
politics.
Is
so.
it also true that you can't swear in Super 2 or supercars now because there's rules for FIA?
Well, they
intertwined?
recently
They
just
changed it, didn't they?
relucted. Well, they didn't take it fully away. They brought back it was $50,000 fine or whatever it is, and they brought it back to a $20,000 fine. Or they dropped it like a 50%. So
Well,
I don't know
still too
where.
expensive.
I don't know what you're saying about Super 2, but I understand FIA sanction it, Motorsport Australia. So like FIA is an overarching body that control Motorsport Australia. So I guess, it's still
Like if you rocked up at a Super Ute race and said,
this and
this
that.
thing's an effing
Yep.
piece of rubbish
Yep.
On live TV, I would imagine you'd get a rap over the knuckles. I don't think you'd get the full 20 grand.
I think
Not suggesting
technically
you go and do
it's
it.
like a maximum, like when you get parking, maximum penalty $5,000. They don't actually fine you, but they can if they want to.
Yeah,
So,
but it was a rule no one liked.
right.
No one liked it. The F1 drivers didn't like it. No one here liked it. And certainly the Yanks look at it, because all the motorsport over there is officially sanctioned by the FIA, but they don't care.
Not NASCAR though.
Yeah, like on the very top level, they sort of are, but they just have absolutely nothing to do with them.
Is that right?
Yeah, so there's a group called AUKUS, which is IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR,
Right.
and then they all combine together and report to the FIA, but take absolutely no notice of what the FIA are doing because they just march the beat of their drums.
Is there any motorsport that doesn't have FIA?
Yeah, or AASA.
A double
stuff,
ASA,
yeah.
right. No, that's
Yeah.
a good question
Yeah.
to sort of...
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because in motocross world years ago, there was two different sort of... It's all insurance and things like that, who covers it, I guess, but that's a technical way to start the episode. What do you reckon? So
It
Will
is.
fell off in the 6 hour, and you've also done the Enduro, the Sydney
300, drove
Yep.
the 80s. I love the 86.
Yep.
Such a cool car. It's like the stepping stone vehicle. But then it started raining on the last 2 laps of the race. I was sitting in P3 and Sydney in the wet. I think Sydney's a harder track than Bathurst. I think hands down it's such a technical track. I would... You've got straights at Bathurst.
Have you driven Bathurst?
Yeah, in an XL. Obviously. But anyway, it started raining. So unfortunately it lost based on the last lap. A podium position because it's just raining heavily and I did
Why
not want
did
to
you
bin.
lose?
I didn't want to bin the car.
Are you
I didn't want to
trying
bin
to
the
circle
car.
around that was your fault?
It was my fault.
Okay. You need to do some dirt racing
Uh,
to get used to that sliding.
What would you recommend to start dirt racing on a budget? What would you recommend? What
Probably
would you get into?
dirt karts, I guess, is probably apart from go-karts.
Sprint car.
Four tens. Just keep it cheap. Keep it cheap. 410 sprint.
No, because you do dirt karting, you're going to buy a new suit. It's going to get dirty.
Okay.
Your mum's going to be pissed.
Probably
pissed about the
wingless
washing.
sprints is probably the budget sort of level speedway racing category that's out there. The big numbers, race on all the good tracks. It is very hard to get to a certain level in speedway that you're good because there's really no test days.
You know what you should do if you want to be good in driving in the rain is go and race in New Zealand for a season.
That is true.
So all these Kiwis
round.
come over
100%.
at 15, unbelievably talented because 90% of the time they're racing in a massive downpour or the snow.
We touched on this, Richard, with our last episode with the Grand Prix, how they sort of canned that last day. And we were sort of disappointed to see some of those Kiwi drivers like the Richie Stanaways and things that they might have excelled and they were probably, this is beauty, this is our time to shine.
Yeah.
And they didn't get the opportunity. So, it is New Zealand drivers are bloody good in the rain. So same with
true.
dirt drivers.
In Michelin Sprint Challenge, like this weekend coming, there's so many Kiwi drivers as well I've seen on the grid. There's a massive group. And then Tony Quinn's also got his foundation for GT4. So he's got a driver in every single round, basically. So it's a massive stepping stone with Kiwi drivers coming through.
I think they can start younger. Is that, am I
true.
right there?
They
or is
can
that
start national circuit racing at 14.
14. What do you reckon? Simmons Plains, were there a bit cold down there, wasn't it? We did the
Freezing cold
activation.
down there. That was the coldest I've been in a long time. Coming from the warmth of Adelaide too.
You've raced at Simmons Plains
That was
previously?
my
or
first time to set foot in Tasmania. Full stop. So
Yeah, right.
good weekend. Lots happened in Aussie car world. That
Yeah, we'll
obviously
touch on that a little bit
we
later.
can touch on that later. But overall,
How'd your weekend results-wise, top 10 sort of thing?
we had top 10 pace, and that seems to be the story of our life for the last 12 months. But we unfortunately we qualified okay. We practiced well. We were in the top 10, and we're running there in race 1, and we had one of the header pipes fall off the engine. So unfortunately, we DNF'd race 1, and then with the way the point system works in Aussie cars, they kind of relegates you to the back. Unless you've got really good pace and you can drive through, it was a bit difficult. And I got caught up in some accidents. And
Do they do a reverse sort of race?
They do.
Is that a reverse top 10 or is it, how do they
It's
work that?
a random draw.
Oh, like what
I
we
think
did.
it's 8, 12, 8, 10 or 12.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
You
any
draw a
given
hat
race.
or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Is it half points for that race or is it?
Full points.
No,
Full
it's 4
points.
points.
Yeah, okay.
The final race, which is an amalgamation of the points of the first 3, I think it's got a heavier weighting in that final race.
Double points last
points,
race.
yeah. So it killed you. The irony of that reverse grid race is that in round 1 in Sydney, we were in a really good position to take advantage of that at Sydney Motorsport
Well, they
Park.
reverse the top 14 there,
Yeah,
so they
and
kind of make it up as they go.
They do. They pulled a number out of thin air, but we're in a really good position to take advantage of that. And I think you were 4th on the grid for that.
were third on the grid
Third
for
on
that,
the grid
yeah.
for that. That's right, inside second row. Torrentially wet race. And Ash didn't get a very good start. It's probably a good thing because the car that was on pole stalled and got drilled at high warp speed by Emma Clark. And fortunately, she's okay, went to hospital, massive impact, and the race was red flagged. So even when we've had a bit of luck with Ash to get to the front and have an opportunity to run at the front, that gets sort of taken away from us as well. So it's been a bit of a theme of our Aussie journey.
And how did this partnership sort of come to fruition? Obviously, you've been friends for a while now, being South Australian. So how did it form, and how did this team came about?
Barbecue and beers.
Yeah, it was.
It was every year for probably the last 10 or maybe even longer years. We've had a Christmas show after the last test day in December at my place, and I usually get all the people who've helped us over the year to come, and we have a barbecue and we play backyard cricket and just have a good time. And
super serious, by the way.
Super serious. Crail tried to take my head off last year.
You let go of the cricket bat.
That was soon thereafter I got smacked in the gentleman's region and spent some time on the grass. It was unpleasant.
So it does get serious to answer your question. But and obviously, so Crail's been driving XLs and things at that test day in previous years, and we all catch up afterwards. And we were standing around and we thought, well, Aussie cars would be okay, and we sort of got talking about that and how that might work. And Crail said to me, "Well, I'd be in on that. I'd do half of that." And we kind of took it from there. That was the beginning of it, and it was literally cooking sausages.
Yeah, and I think the sort of preamble to that was, I think you ticked all your XL boxes. So you'd won Bathurst lap record, won the national title, won 57 state championships. So from an XL point of view, there probably wasn't much more for Ash to achieve. So you were looking for something to challenge you from a driving point of view to step up, and we'd sort of just had a conversation about what categories would fit that box, I suppose. And when we talked about Aussies, and we sort of had a look on the marketplace as you do, and what do they cost, and I've always had a bit of an ambition to get involved in a team environment, because it's the one thing in my career that I've lacked is having that horse in the race. So in my job especially, you've got to be that impartial observer. So might be mates with Matt Totani or Adrian Cottrell, but when I'm calling a race that you guys are in, I need to be as impartial to you two as I need to be about anyone else, because that's the job, right? So I've never had that opportunity to go, what's it like to have something I'm involved in? And because I'm not a racer, I don't race.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
I'm not able to tick that competitive motor racing box by driving and going and winning. And even if I did race, I wouldn't win a bloody thing. So to have that opportunity and be involved in co-owning the car and then the business enterprise behind it, that was a box I was looking to tick. And that's been great.
That's cool. Yeah, it's like probably people that bet on horses or put their money in the...
well, and then end up owning them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Never thought about it like that, because I've been a racer since I was a young fella. I haven't put myself in that shoes of a motorsport fan and then not having that fix of that is my entry.
Yeah, and it was because my job is so...
impartial.
It's not that it's removed from the sport. If anything, you're deeper into it than some people that work in teams, because, you might drive for your team, but you might not know what's going on down the road at Marjam's pit or whatever it is.
Interesting.
Whereas I'm sort of in everybody's garage. Hey, what are you doing? Andy McElrea. Hey, what are you doing? Mick and Maria. So I know them all. So even then you don't have that one connection to an entity within the sport. So for me, from the competitive side of me in motorsport, I haven't been able to scratch that itch.
Cool.
And that's what this is...
So this is the first year
supposed to allow us to do.
Or was it last year?
We did last year, but it was heavily compromised by the Perth accident, wasn't it?
So we wanted to touch on that. We brought that up on our notes. So obviously there was an engine issue or something, or what was the story?
It's quite a long story, isn't it? So
we got 3 hours.
Because I said to Adrian that hadn't heard about it, and I'm like,
I remember something go on, but
it wasn't on TV or anything, was it?
No, it was in qualifying, and they weren't airing qualifying on Friday. So it sort of goes back to when we bought the car, it had an overheating issue. So we did everything we could to try and sort it ourselves with radiators and cooling and all that. We went through
pistons
everything.
And all sorts.
We'll come to that.
They're still coming.
Okay.
So when we went to Bathurst, and the thing really bit us, didn't it? Because we were going all right. We were sort of knocking on the door of the top 10, and that was our first round. So we thought, we're going okay here. And we got to the last race where it was a bit hotter, and it was a longer race, and the thing cooked itself, and we fell back, near the outside the 20. So we got to fix this. We won't go to, I think it was Queensland was round 2 last year. We'll forgo that and we'll spend the money. We'll send the engine off to Craigstead. We'll get it fixed and we'll be away. Sent it off, missed the round, got it back just before we sort of had to pack up to go to Perth, put it in, and the engine, the oil was all full of water.
Far out.
So
That was a brand new engine. Yeah, that's
so rang them up, got some sort of recourse with it, and we sent it back. Well, actually, we took the engine with us to Perth in the truck, and they took it back, and it was just really a comedy of errors from there. We were lucky enough that Bruce and Joel Heinrich lent us an engine to go to Perth, which got put in the car the night before it had to be loaded. So it was really last minute. We loaded it the next day, sent it to Perth, got there. I think we broke an axle in practice.
Yep.
So we only got half the practice session in. And then
it was the big axle too, the really expensive.
Yeah.
They've got unequal length rear drive
small
shafts.
one.
So the long one broke. So that was $250 we never saw again.
Yeah. And the brake disc too.
And the brake rotor, yeah.
Sounds like my Tasmania. So you've had a horror event leading in, and then horror starting the event.
Yep.
Never been to Wanneroo before.
Never been. So then we rolled.
You're not going back.
Not this year.
So then you started quali.
Started quali, and the thing just nipped up over the top of the hill, coming down into the last corner, and I pulled off as quickly as I could, parked against the wall, and then and the session was pretty much over. I think at that point too, the checkered flag was out.
Yeah.
Were you on the radio, Richard? Yeah. No. Okay.
No. So I finish telling the story of the crash. Come back to that because I didn't actually see it happen.
All right.
Made
So
it even
did you
worse.
get out of the car, or you?
I was about to get out.
Right. And
We
lucky
had
you
it was
did.
actually so we had a radio issue before the session, and I couldn't really hear the guys that well, but I think they could hear me. I think that was the
Intermittent
case.
or something.
It was a bit of a drama. So I called on the radio that the thing was on fire because there was smoke going absolutely everywhere. I parked the thing, and I was about to get out, and I had the door open, and I thought I'll just plug back in and tell the guys that everything's okay. And I plugged back in, and then I just got whacked.
So someone's. What's the story of them?
The 6 cars went past before we got hit. So
this is obviously yellows out.
Yeah, well, I assume that
there were yellows.
Yeah.
There were yellows flying, but it's qualifying. Everyone's got the eyes on, and there was quite all of the oil from our engine from the top of the crest all the way down the hill. And unfortunately, poor old Scotty Dornan, who's a mate of ours and sort of basically a teammate in a way with the Heinrich guys, and was literally pitted right next to us as well. Got caught out in the oil and drilled the car.
Were you still belted
drilled
in?
the car.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was out.
Wow.
I was almost halfway out the car.
Because it's smoking, you got to get out.
Our thing had already caught fire twice to that point. So
with all the Craigstead issues before, we went testing the Mallala and the thing caught on fire, didn't it? Because it was blowing oil out of the top of the rocker cover. Wow. So it was just a terrible period.
Did you hurt yourself? Oh, what's this?
I still hobble around now on a cold morning. It hurt my like the back of my heels.
Is that just because you're getting old, or is it?
There is that. I have been welcomed to the old man. So Chris, our number one, he said the other day I was hobbling around. He held out his hand and goes, "Welcome to the old man club." So I'm officially in that now.
That's sad time.
I know, right?
Mate, isn't that the crazy?
I forgot you were here.
I was just telling Amber to turn the air conditioner on.
Oh, really?
I felt my computer. I was like, oh, far out.
It was overheating.
I think the craziest
like the engine.
Yeah, the engine. It all ties in. The craziest thing is, I think, like, one of those moments you must think to yourself, I was getting out the car, like, what if the timing was different on that? It's such a scary feeling.
I try not to think about that because, there's so many factors that went into me being there. Like, if it goes back probably 2 or 3 months, and any of those changes could, it just wasn't my time.
The butterfly effect. You can say this and that.
Yeah. So
if he hadn't have plugged himself back in to tell the team that he was getting out, the irony of that, right? So this thing's going to catch on fire. I'm getting out. He actually got back in the car, basically. He was halfway out, got back in to do that.
Yeah.
If he hadn't have done that, he would have been 3/4 of the way out through the door when Scotty whacked him. And
who knows?
Who knows what would have happened?
Sorry, was it double yellows that
I
were out?
don't
You just don't know.
It was.
You don't, yeah.
But even double yellows, like if you're putting around half pace and you hit oil, like downhill, was it downhill? You could probably still.
It was right at the
of
bottom.
tip,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
a big braking zone.
I've never liked getting out of cars when It
The only reason I was
sketches
going
me.
to get out was because I thought it was
Yeah.
on fire. So
And I
was-
get out,
and we
get
didn't
off,
have the fire
get
bomb
away.
stuff then at that stage
Yeah,
either.
okay.
So
Yep.
it was one I was like, well, it's been on fire a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sitting here and watching it.
Well, that's a
burn
good
to the ground.
initiative.
And,
into
and,
Aussie racing
and
cars,
6
isn't it?
cars had blazed past as well.
So you thought,
So he thought, well, most of the field must have gone by at that point. It was just unfortunate that poor old Scotty was the one that got massively caught out.
So did you write the chassis off, or you repaired it, or what?
We're pretty lucky that Chris O's, our number one on the car, is an incredibly good fabricator.
Yeah.
So the new axle we just put in was destroyed.
It irritated me as much as the car being badly damaged,
and
honestly.
it did sustain quite a bit of damage, as well as when the engine let go, it pushed the conrod through the case and bent the engine mount at the front end as well. So
Wow.
there was at one stage there was talk of fixing the car and at least getting the wheels pointing in the right direction and borrowing a diff, and it destroyed the diff. But it was the engine mount that we went, well, we're going to have to cut and shut this thing pretty heavily to put another engine in, and we were already our own engine plus Joel's engine down at that stage, so we thought better of it. Plus, I couldn't walk, we parked, didn't we?
I left. I was up on Wanneroo, drivers left on the pit side where the media centre is, and I was sort of watching from just in front where that pedestrian bridge is when you cross the circuit to go to the supercar pits. And by that point, everyone had punched out their time. The track wasn't getting any quicker. Tyres had passed their best. We clearly weren't going to go any faster as well. I'd left my viewing point, shut my phone down with the timing, and was walking back to the media centre to punch out a little social media update. Oh, yeah, we qualified 18th, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't see it. Didn't see it
you
happen.
had posted it?
No, I hadn't posted
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
So I was about to go to the media centre and I saw Sean Jamison,
Right.
old Jamo, multiple saloon car champion and who works with the Heinrichs on their cars,
I think he works on Scott's car.
on Scotty's car.
Yeah.
And I saw Jamo walking back and I was like, oh, gee, that's no good, mate. Is your bloke all right? I was like, Jamo, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. And he's like, didn't you see it? Oh, swear. And yeah, so it was at that point I made a beeline for the medical centre, and it was that point where I was walking down the back of the support paddock and saw our thing coming in on the flatbed, about 3 foot shorter than a 4.5 foot long Aussie racing car already is.
There's been some big shunts in Aussie cars. Like, remember
Probably
that
the
Quinn
biggest
one?
crashes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that Quinn at the Bathurst that
Bathurst
rolled.
went multiple rollover.
That was the main one. That was Adrian Flack.
And that went into
was
Robbo's
huge.
house. It was at Robbo's house, and then everyone was just running
There
down.
has been some serious shunts in Aussie
They have
cars.
good ones. A lot of the time they look a bit more spectacular than they are because they shed body bits and
Yeah.
Well, the
But-
rolling.
yeah,
Have
it's
you
the
seen that Oran Park in 2006 or something?
they had one at the Bend when they were there last
they?
time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming off of 16.
Because there's a
I
state
reckon,
series,
17.
obviously.
That was a rollover too, that one.
Yeah.
And Aussie car sanctions that.
Yep.
Is that yeah?
Yep.
And South Australia is the only state that has like a
At the moment,
Yep.
yeah.
And it's different to the miniature race series, obviously.
Correct. Yeah. It's an
yeah.
official Aussie car
Yeah.
one that they
Do they still do the miniature series?
They
or-
call it something different now, I think. Don't they?
Right.
So what you were doing on the weekend for the state series, that's not the miniature series that you're
No,
going
that's an
for.
Aussie. That's the SA Aussie
It's
car.
sanctioned
SA
by
Aussie. Has
like,
to be.
Aussie Racing Cars recognise that as a
Yep.
South Australian series.
Because before I used to see the miniature cars out with Aussie racing cars at
They
some
look
state rounds,
weird.
and it's
They
yeah.
look weird.
Yeah, it's
Like, are they faster?
They are, yeah. They got a big slick tyre on them, and I think
Yeah.
they got a big Hayabusa engine
Yeah,
too.
okay.
So
they just
are
don't
quite a bit
look
quicker.
like a car.
yeah.
I don't know. That's just my
I think
visualising
it's
sort of.
probably a good car to have a bit of fun in
Oh,
for sure.
like
But
they-
they've just got their own state thing going on, and
Just, I mean, the silhouette of them just look.
it's wide. It's like
They just
it's tall.
look like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just
100%.
look weird. So
Yeah.
Formula V, you've done a bit of that. Obviously, that was when you started circuit racing. Did you do go karts before?
I did, yeah. We did just a lot of local stuff mainly, and then we sort of when I was old enough, Dad was pretty keen on me doing Formula V pretty early on when we started karts, and we got through into seniors and did a bit of that, and then we went, let's look at the Formula V thing, and they were in the middle of doing their 1200, 1600 changeover, and we didn't quite know what to buy, so we did a year of superkarting, and then after that we started
Shifter karts, obviously.
no, we did Rotax,
Okay,
so non
yep.
gearbox. Just to we learnt some tracks, and it was then when I jumped into the car, it was a matter of just learning the car. I didn't have to learn where all the corners went at the tracks we've been to. So I felt that was like a pretty good jump at the time. I look back now and I go, gee, I wouldn't do superkarting again in a hurry. You're just so exposed, and
Dangerous.
I guess now I've got a few more responsibilities in life. I look at that and go, I don't think I put myself through that now. But at the time, it was good.
It's pretty dangerous. They
Supercars-
used to do that at the Adelaide 500.
They did
That's
have a couple
heavy.
races.
That's
yeah.
hectic.
Yeah.
What happened to supercars? It's kind of just
It's
dulled down.
people have
just
woken
deadly.
up to it. Like,
It's just
like
too
we race
dangerous.
dirt. I race dirt karts just for a bit of fun, and like you're sideways hitting wheels, and you're seeing people fly over and fly out the car.
What?
Like every race meeting, there's someone in an ambulance, if not two, getting carted to the hospital.
Actually, last time I was at Sydney Motorsport Park, there was... And
Don't you point at me, mate.
they had to have the coroner...
finger out.
The coroner had to come out, which is obviously not good.
It's horrible. It's dangerous. You're at the elements, and you got no roll cage. It's like motocross is the same sort of thing. They had someone pass away at Gilman, and they age comes a cage kind of thing, and it's crazy.
It is
So
crazy.
Formula V, how long did you do that for?
We had 2 stints at that. We did a couple of years first up, and we actually went in 2005. So this is where I met Richard around this time, so 2004, 2005. And we went and did the Victorian State Series, and that's where I got hooked up with the Formula Ford team, and we started doing some stuff with them. I bought a drive and did Adelaide 500 in 05 as a support category there.
Was that with BRM, or was that with...
No, that was with McGale with G-Force.
Oh, right, okay.
So
is that the Kents, or was that the...
it was Kent's then.
Yep.
And so we did then in 06, we jumped in the Formula Ford after we did the
So you did the national series at Adelaide 500?
Yeah, because there wasn't much state series stuff in Formula Ford locally, so I sort of knew that's where I wanted to go, and that was the direction that, you know, at that stage I'd got involved with the CAM, they call it the Driver Development Program, that turned into the Rising Star Program. And they had sort of given us some direction on advice on where to go and whatever, and so I knew I had to get to Formula Ford if I wanted to make a go of it. So I sort of found all my own sponsors, and the family put a bit of money in, and we got ourselves a drive with McGale, and it was like a 97 thing. It wasn't the best.
Wasn't the current spec.
No, but it was all about just getting laps, and we did a few test days and just got our heads around what it was actually like to drive one.
And you did a couple of rounds in that?
In the 97 car, I only did 500, but I did, like, we went to Calder, which was, I went to these new tracks, and, we tested with the team before we went there, which was really good. And that was
teammates as well?
Yeah, there were a couple of other cars, I think, with McGale, but it was, I think, Dale Wood was the main guy back then.
Well, he was leading. He won the championship, or
he was definitely the main driver. I don't think he won the championship that year, but he had the new car, so that's sort of like what me and Dad were sitting there going, well, this is where we need to get to. Like, although we were still probably not maximising what we had, we're like, well, that'd be nice.
But then if you don't maximise what you had there, you'd still be further up. So it's the classic old story.
Yeah, correct. So anyway,
you like driving though? I've never driven a Formula V. What do they like to drive? Like, obviously it's slower than Formula Ford, but do they act the same way? Or?
Very similar. It's all just a little bit slower, really. In terms of actually working on them, they're a bit harder to work on because you're limited by 1960s Volkswagen technology.
Right.
But in terms of the actual driving on it, it's reasonably similar. You have to be a bit more aggressive in the Formula Ford. You drive them sideways more, whereas the Formula V you have to be very smooth. And,
that bob down.
Correct, So it's all about momentum, which is similar to the Hyundai. So I think that's probably where I picked up a little bit. Obviously front-wheel drive in the XL, but learning to drive with no power is something I think I'm pretty good at now.
Yeah.
And jumping in the Aussie car, it's taken me ages to figure out A, real drive again, but B, having
bit more power.
And how to get the most out of that isn't the same as how you do that with no power. So it's taken me a while to get my head around that, but I feel like now I feel a bit more at home.
Is Formula V, is it still around, or is XL's kind of, is that where it's merged from? Like,
no, Formula V is still its own thing. And
but a lot of the Formula V driver, have they sort of moved towards XL racing?
A lot of the Formula V drivers are still Formula V drivers.
Okay.
It's more that XLs have taken a lot of the young guys coming out because they get they get a roof over their head straight away, then they go to 86s.
Away they go.
Then they go to
for Australian motorsport,
whatever.
that's probably the way. Like, you look at Formula Ford now, there's like there's high-tech series, there's like this national
We touched on
state.
this last.
There's so many, like Formula Ford's like got so many categories or versions now. It's confusing. So you might as well
It's just
stick
not
to
a
the roof over
united
your head.
front. They haven't
Well,
got
the pathway's so unpredictable now. You probably know more, Crail, with you looking down from you in the Porsche area. How people get to be a Porsche driver now is probably a lot different to what it was 10 years ago.
Well, and I think it's the reason why Porsche and Toyota especially have become so successful is because they do give a defined pathway to success. Whereas in the past, when I was growing up watching car racing, the young supercar drivers of the day were like Garth Tander, Jason Bright, Jason Barguana, Todd Kelly, Rick Kelly, Craig Lowndes. They were all the young stars coming up when I was my early teens as a proper hardcore motorsport fan. And the pathway then was Formula Ford. Most of them did Formula Holden, supercars.
So no Super 2. There was
no Super
development.
2 at the time.
Yeah,
No,
right.
no.
So Formula Holden
Yep.
or Formula Ford straight to supercar.
Yeah. Well,
As an enduro driver.
Craig Lowndes
or-
is famous for going directly from Formula Ford into supercars, and it was this outrage at the time because
Was it?
how can he possibly be good enough to drive a supercar? He's only ever raced a Formula Ford.
So he didn't do Formula Holden.
He did a little bit of Formula
went
Holden.
back and did
but
Formula Holden.
He
Right.
went
Yeah.
back and did it when he'd already done the 94 Bathurst thing and almost knocked JB off and Dickie Johnson off and won Bathurst that year. But that it was so much simpler and there were so many fewer options back in the day.
Well, less
of where
cash
to go.
cow. Sort of like there's less cash grab opportunities for teams to sort of pull some out of Super 2, pull some out of
But
Porsche.
I think the
Like-
sport was smaller.
Yeah,
as well.
that's true.
So,
but not smaller in seats though. Like in terms of the top echelon.
maybe not. But then nowadays you can make a decent living as a gunfire in a GT
Good
car,
call. Or you
whereas
drive
you couldn't back in the day.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's a good call.
So I think it's become very cloudy in the last decade when MA tried to bring in Formula 4 because that's what the FIA wanted. That was the global pathway, but it probably didn't play to the market here because Formula Ford was the category. And then they didn't do a good job of bringing F4 in and they pissed all the people that were in Formula Ford off. So all of a sudden you split
And
two
F3.
camps there and F3 and you were in that for a little time. So that just made it very, very difficult and very unclear as to where a young driver should go. And then supercars quite rightfully went, do you know what? We've got all these old touring cars lying around. We should probably be racing them. It's a good business opportunity, but it's a good opportunity for us to have our cars to be sold somewhere so our teams can move an asset on.
Yep.
And they created the development series.
Yep.
And now Super 2, you quite literally have to do Super 2.
But you're not. Well, you do with the license points.
Almost, with a few exceptions. Like Harry Jones is going to race Enduros this year, and he hasn't done Super 2, but
That's a Porsche run around.
Yeah, he's won everything else.
Yeah.
So you almost have to do it before you get a main game drive. So that in a way, they almost created their own pathway into supercars, but it's the steps below that. But if you look at Toyota, and you've driven 86s and you've been around the 86 series, it's so simple now. So you could come out of Excels, jump straight into scholarship series, straight into national series, and then if you're Max Gagan, you get a scholarship, you get taken overseas, you can go and drive whatever you want. You're credentialed, you're experienced, you've got that level of credibility in a national series where if you're a supercar team and you do want to take a punt on a young driver, you go, mate, do you know what? Maxi Gagan, he's done 2 years in Toyotas, he won the championship, he's done a bit of this, he's done a bit of that. Yeah, we'll give him a crack. Why not? And now he's in Super 2. And the Porsche thing's the same, just at a higher level. And there's more money, but the competition is higher and the level of where you end up is potentially higher because you get into Carrera Cup and then you could go Europe GT racing. And if you're a Carrera Cup champion and you take your resume to any of the big GT3 teams in Europe, they'll go, oh, yeah, you can drive.
They'll actually look at it.
Yeah.
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 And I like the Porsche platform because there's no BOP.
Well, it's one make is...
No, I'm serious.
And we'll come to this when we talk about Aussie cars.
I do not like BOP.
One make racing is so popular at the moment because it is completely controlled.
86?
Yep.
Porsche.
You know what you're getting. Even Utes to an extent. And I know it's not
Yeah,
without its
look,
challenges and
We don't
the
have as
category's
much
working
aero.
through that.
We don't
But-
have as much aero. So that takes that element out of it.
Correct. But you know the engine you're putting
same
in,
engines.
the engine you're putting in your car is the
100%.
same one Adam Marjoram's got.
Big
So when it comes to a drag race,
Yep.
you're even.
100%.
Yeah.
How's the
That's where-
chassis though, mate? His
Well,
chassis is the same, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's.
I realise it's a contentious
It
point.
is slightly different, and we do have a BOP, but we're not fighting against the engine. And with GT4, with what they're going through, it's.
Well, GT4 is doing like if you win, you now get
But that's
extra
not
time in the
BOP.
pits, and you get more
That's
weight
not
in the
BOP.
car.
No,
that's
that's
a
success balance.
performance success balance. That's it, and I don't really agree on that, and that's why I left Aussie Racing Cars. So when they brought that in 2012, we had a big vote. I think Quinn's just bought the series, and I voted against it. I said, look, I understand if you want to like change from Toyota Orion to an AU, That's one thing. But someone that wins, I don't agree with it. And we walked away because if you're good enough, you should win every single race.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's
it's got to be a reward for effort and success and all that sort of things.
It's a race to the bottom. If you know,
yeah. I think for us now, like it's about the show too. So you got to factor that in, I think, a little bit. And we knew going in what we were getting into with the way the series is run and the way they do the restrictions and that sort of thing. So, and then there's games around how you play that tactically as well. We haven't been in a position fast enough to execute those games, but I know the guys at the front
they won't. They will drop back to getting the restrictor away
to get the most out of the double points race. So there's some tactics with it as well, which I like. We just need to keep working to make sure we get in a position to be able to execute those things.
Good fun. So what else is new, Dusty?
Well,
what we got?
You had a good off on the weekend. Did I see you flying through the?
Yeah, I definitely saw that.
He thought he could get away with it. There's never.
I've got an excuse.
Race car drivers all have excuses.
But it's so, you know what? It's so good getting back to Excels. I said,
Nah.
Hang on.
Let's bring back this
Dusty.
off. I haven't heard about this. Can we? Let's talk about
Was
it.
this like
turn 5?
Turn.
Oh, I did see that.
I did do that.
Yeah.
I just remember.
Of course you did.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? You're in that dilemma. When there's an accident in front of you, what do? Do you back off or do you just keep going? And you
It's an arc of brakes, you reckon?
So, you know, turn 5, if you go, like, fast left-hander, if you go 3 wide through there, it's always a person in the middle.
3 wide. When do you go 3 wide through?
Excel.
And
Excel you should do.
Okay.
Yeah, like in a real category, like Excel you should do. Anyway, the person in the middle always gets caught out. So the person on the left, I was on the outside, person on the left tapped the guy in the middle, his car sideways. And you think in that moment, do I just send it and hope their car doesn't swing into the outside, or do you back off? But the problem is, if you back off and slam on the brakes, especially in an Excel, I did.
Yeah.
You lose the rear. And then there's me flying off into the inside wall at 5. And we didn't crash.
Well, you've got a good point. Like sometimes if you stay on the power, you drive away from the accident. But sometimes it can either cause a more of an accident and it's a bigger accident. So it's how do you know what that car's going to do? If they're sliding, are they going to slide back on?
But you should be able to sort of pinpoint it. Like
Not all the time.
The car someone gets taken out in front of you, you're just like, where's that car going to swing? And you think, how did I not know that car was going to veer right and I could have gone left? But
Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
But it's better than bidding your car into them. But yeah, the XLs are clean this weekend. Like we had only one safety car.
No rollovers.
And that's rare. And you remember what it was like. It was always
They're always plenty of
biff and
action.
bash.
Yeah.
Well, they've split it with the Masters. Is that helping the cause?
The
maybe?
reason why they split it was because of that reason where there was, older blokes and girls who were like, look, hey, we don't want to get involved in all these trophy series drivers who are trying to, get one little position. And it did cause accidents between,
It was a grid capacity issue too, I think, at one stage too, because that Mallards 40 car capacity, and quite often the XLs when I was there were well over that. So they had to
what did they do?
split
Cap it or like
Well,
entries?
I think sometimes they let a few extras in, or
Start from the pit
we
lane.
had split like A, B, C, D. We had split.
Yeah, well, we did that Ryan Panowich Memorial thing. We ran a format which is a bit like a speedway format where you qualify
A main, B main, sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
So, but we always, we were, it was generally by the time you got to the final, even if there was over 40 cars subscribed, there'd be a couple that have had a crash or are out for some reason. So it never really became an issue. But after we stopped doing that, it continued to get popular and grow, and it was they had to split it somehow. So it's probably not as big an issue at the bend, but then there was obviously people that wanted to be out of.
So that shirt you've got on, is that the XL Destiny Series?
Destiny Series.
So is that an actual platform that you can go from XLs to 86s? Like, is that a state series?
Technically, it is. So they hosted it. So it's been around for probably 2 or 3 years. I might be wrong.
Now,
So last year they decided that they would do like a Norwell shootout challenge as such, where the 5 top drivers that they think in that category has a chance to go to Norwell, and they all test each other's skills out like a little challenge, and they get a round in 86's scholarship.
There needs to be more of this sort of stuff. Like, there's not enough opportunities, I don't think, for a junior go-kart kid that doesn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to make it through legitimately all the way through. And they used to have the Aussie driver search. That was a small thing. I was a coach on, sat there and judged and did that, and that unfortunately didn't succeed. I was a part of a forum-based platform. I forget the name of it now, and I was a driver for that, and people voted decisions with that. My race team, it was called. That didn't work out. We had what you touched on before with the Cam's Rising Star. I was a part like yourself when you did the brain scans and all the rest of it, and that's not around anymore, I don't think.
I would say there's zero opportunity for someone that doesn't have a lot of money these days to progress. It's just nothing.
I think it comes back. I think motorsport, either Australia or V8 supercars, need to inject some of their team partners that they get around the event and bring that into some of that junior and do it right. Do it fully fledged. You win go-karts national championship, you get an XL fully funded.
Was there more of it back in the day? Was there more of that back in the day and there's less now?
Maybe.
I don't think so. I think there's just more motorsport now that it's probably more obvious and it's way more expensive. This is another area where we get pantsed by the Kiwis. They are so good, and maybe it is because they're such a small country. They are so good at grabbing their young talent early and backing them the whole way. But a lot of it, if you look at all the programs here, whether it's Cam's Rising Star or whatever it might be, 90% of them are all benevolent based. They're not done by a commercial partner. They're done by someone who can either afford to do it or a group of people who want to do it.
Yeah, okay.
And not out of a commercial.
You're talking about the academies.
Sure, but in the New Zealand example, it's you look at almost every successful New Zealand racing car driver in the world at the moment, they have been in some way influenced by the Giltrap Group.
Yeah.
And the Giltrap Group have a scholarship program. You mentioned the Kiwis in Michelin Sprint Challenge this year, and young Tom Bewley is their Giltrap Group scholarship recipient this year. Porsche New Zealand fund him in Porsche Australia.
Who is Giltrap Group? So
Giltrap Group is a business that was founded by Sir Colin Giltrap, and they're one of New Zealand's largest automotive retailers. So they are the franchisee for Porsche in New Zealand, and they have an enormous group of dealerships in the north and some in the south now as well. They own Sixt New Zealand rental cars, a bunch of other businesses as well, but they're passionate about car racing.
How good is that?
Absolutely filthy passionate.
Good.
And
It's awesome.
Sir Colin Giltrap, who we lost last year, sadly, when we were in New Zealand racing Porsches with his grandson racing in Carrera Cup. Young Marco, who's a ripper kid. But their family, he was a massive rev head, and his two sons are massive petrol heads. Sir Colin set up Team New Zealand in A1GP back in the day. That was all him. And
those types of characters really help people that don't have massive budgets. And we need either more of them, which is hard to, how do you just get more of them? Or we need to restructure the way that the categories are done, like the budgets. Like you can't just bring $500,000 of your own money. Like somehow something has to be twisted, like a ladder system, like the AFL with a drafting. Something needs to happen to try and foster legitimate talent that doesn't have budget. Or is that the game we're in?
Well, I think it's the game we're in,
Yeah, okay.
and I hate it for that, but it is the case. And it goes back to the perennial problem with motorsport. If you're good at cricket, so let's say little Asher decides he doesn't go go-karting and he wants to play cricket, and he picks up a cricket bat.
Are you talking about this Christmas show?
Well, yeah,
You are.
exactly.
I want to hear it.
But let's say 25, 30 years ago, Asher goes, no, I don't want to go go-karting, Dad.
Yeah.
I just want to go and play for Glenelg
Yeah.
Cricket Club. And he goes out and he makes centuries and he's really good. And then the SACA, South Australian Cricket Association, will go, I kick and play. Let's get him in our junior programs. All of a sudden, he's playing state cricket for the Redbacks.
Yeah.
And then the Australian cricket team goes, we need a new opening batsman, young Asher Johnston. He's in the test side. Away he goes. You're set, done. And while you do, there is some outlay and you have to buy the gear and that's expensive.
The barrier of entry is a lot lower.
So much lower. And you can make it at an elite level purely by having elite talent.
Yeah.
And it's the same in football, and it's the same in soccer, and it's the same in most of the stick and ball sports or basketball or whatever it might be that you get. The problem motor racing's got is that it's ridiculously expensive to do it. Even to
price.
go, even if you
XL
want to
racing at a high level.
the four of us could go and play kick to kick down at the Oval tomorrow, and it would cost us nothing. But if we wanted to go and have a skid in a go-kart,
Hundreds of
go to
dollars.
Kartmania, it's $100 each.
Yeah.
So even at that basic level, there's an expense involved. So you need to find a way to pay for it. What I think, just on the guilt trap thing, there are and have been people like that in Australia, and Peter Boylan's been one of them that's been great for a lot of young drivers.
Rosenberg.
James Rosenberg has been outstanding, and his story has not been told enough, mainly because James is so modest and it's not about him, it's about... But James, I reckon, will have spent millions over the journey supporting drivers, and there are drivers in the supercar paddock now that would not be there without James's investment in their careers. That's just the tip of it, but it is something that our sport needs to do a better job. And MA have tried several times to set up programs like that, but for whatever reason, it doesn't work.
And I guess you can look at it in a different way, that maybe if this kid is successful in motorsport and he has came from money, it's successful from their parents because they were successful in business. But so you look at it in a different light, that he's successful. Oh, he's just had money. But no, the family was successful in their business ventures. So they're a successful family, and then he's successful piggy tails. I don't know.
Well, the example is Oscar Piastri, unquestionably one of the great racing car drivers Australia's produced, right? And what he's doing is extraordinary. His dad's done pretty bloody well for himself and had the ability to fund him at extremely elite level, high level karting, to go to Europe, to live in Europe, went over and spent 6 months with him when he moved over there. So even at that level, even if the Piastri family didn't have the budget to go, we're going to spend $3 million on an F2 season, which they didn't have to because he'd earned his point to do that, they still had more than enough to go and get him established over there in that top level karting. And it comes back to that sporting analogy where if you're good at playing soccer, at some point you'll play for Man U.
Yeah.
So, and that's a decent team.
I don't follow soccer.
No, neither do I. I have no idea what I'm talking about beyond that. I'm just going with a brand name.
Nah, it's good. We do touch on this a lot with this because it's...
The point is, Cotty, is that even our great drivers have had some level of family support to get there. Honestly, the most recent one that didn't, probably Mark Webber, because he didn't have any money.
Yellow Pages.
Yeah, but he went and found that.
Correct.
He went and got David Campese to help fund him and things like that.
That's legit. Todd Hazelwood's a good example with this.
Yep. Great example.
And he has done it the legitimate way. And the respect that and the tip of hat to those for myself is those types of characters I really give a bit more respect to. I don't know. That's just me, and that's my personal sort of take it. Their families busted their balls to get him to where he is.
I mean, Shaz is still down cooking sausages every other weekend at Glyn Minor 10. But
it's crazy.
I agree with you.
Good Minor 10, by the way.
It is. I don't want to diminish the efforts of those that have had the backing to get there, but you sort of just feel a little bit more, I don't know if satisfied's the right word, but for a Todd, seeing him win Bathurst, and maybe it's because he's a South Australian, and I've known him since he was I've known him since he was a little tacker.
I raced him in dirt carts when we were kids.
It just the story's right. We're in this situation with our little setup at the moment with the young bloke we've got in our second car. He's coming this year, in Jack Boyd, and Jack is a super talent.
Yep.
He's a great kid, and he's how old's Jacko? 22.
22.
He's done bugger all, like state level Aussie car stuff. Not a huge amount around that. Doesn't have family backing to go and really progress his career any further than that. And we've sort of brought he and his family into our little world this year, and it's been a great partnership. But what we've seen in Jack now is something that I really want to get behind, as well as furthering our cause with the 8 car. But to go, okay, well, Jack's this young bloke who's still young enough to have a little swing at this and maybe see where he could go.
How old is Jack?
22.
Yeah. He done karting when he was younger?
He did a bit of karting.
Yeah,
but he's been in Aussie cars for quite a while, because he's like his dad Glenn was involved early on.
I've raced them on iRacing. Like they're big
Jack's
on
a big,
his dad's got sim business.
Is that right?
Is that right? Sim business? His dad runs?
Well, no,
Is
I
that
think they used to lease some sims out at some point. But
when COVID was, and we were doing all that COVID racing, they were pretty big on the
Jack's
iRacing.
extremely talented.
Yeah. And Jack's done the 500 a couple of times, but he just won make appearances when he could afford it, I guess. And he was good. He was always up there.
Yeah, and we got in an environment this year where he came on board their family sort of came on board with our setup and wanted to run with us, and we found some sponsorship support that we were able to get on both cars, so that was a value add for them. So we could then help Jack and Glenn and his family get to the races. And
You got 2 cars or 3? Well, how's the...
officially we've got 2. So the
Yep.
Boyds own the car that they're
Yep.
running, and we own the car that Asher's driving.
Yep.
But we operate under the same banner when we're at the racetrack. But the net result is that while Asher's had all the bad luck, the dice has rolled really well for Jacko, and after 2 races, he's third in the championship.
So you run over a black cat or something?
Yeah.
I must have.
It's that car.
It's everything has a way of equaling itself out. We had a very good run for a lot of years in the XL, and a lot of things went my way when they probably
Yeah.
shouldn't have. So that's
So
got to
it's
even out at some
evening
point.
out, okay.
It's annoying.
So you're a
that it's costing us-
superstition.
Well,
Superstition.
That's just the way the universe works.
Ah,
I think. It's not. I
quantum
don't know. It's a
physics, sort of.
superstitions, but
You can't
I
take
just-
it personally.
Yeah,
A Ouija board or something?
maybe. But I don't know. It is annoying that it's costing us a lot of money at the moment to go through.
And it's
this
a
stuff.
frustration. You drive back to the airport, in my case, we drive the truck back and you're overthinking it. Why am I doing this? You do all this effort.
Well, I got to
and-
the point before Sydney where I'm like, maybe this isn't for me anymore.
Yeah.
We had
Self-doubt
that much
stuff.
bad luck, and then we had the engine drama again in Sydney, and I was like, maybe this isn't for me. But then we ended up having quite a good end of the weekend, and I come away feeling quite good.
And what gave me hope, and I never got to that low point, but then I'm not driving the race car, but I got the frustration, and having known Ash for as long as I have, I could see it. But I could see looking at the detail stuff that isn't really public, in that he was every bit as quick as Jack that weekend in Sydney. There was nothing between the two of them, and Jack ended up 3rd overall for the weekend.
Yeah.
So in my mind,
kick in the guts. It's
Well,
even
but-
worse.
yeah,
Because
but-
if you didn't have a teammate and you didn't know the
I get
data, you'd
I
be
get
like,
that.
oh, maybe we're not.
And it's probably worse for Ash because Jack got the trophy.
Yeah.
And I get that, but I can probably separate myself a little bit from that and look at it and go, no, we're going to be all right, because you were every bit as quick as Jack
Yeah.
that weekend. And if we hadn't have had the bad luck and the thing hadn't blown an engine in qualifying, you see a theme with our engines here, by the way. If it hadn't blown an engine in qualifying, there's every chance he would have qualified, if not faster, alongside or within a grid spot or 2 of Jack, and they would have raced together all weekend.
Yeah.
And maybe they both would have ended up 2nd and 3rd for the weekend, or 4th and 5th, who
Or
knows?
taking each other out.
Yeah, I would have sacked them both.
No, it's good
So
fun.
from Ash's point of view, there's no doubt in my mind that the capability is there to do the job, to compete, because Jack has proven that he can do it, and you've proven you're every bit as quick as Jack. So we'll get there eventually. We just need some light.
Richard, what have we got on here? What?
Wow. So this is
Mate, joining us.
this is 21 years ago now. This is where Ash and I met.
Yeah,
Is it really? Is this the first time?
Thanks for joining us tonight.
So,
The reason-
in an
Bit
effort,
of a
Crayley,
driver
to stitch you up
development
here,
program.
I've probably stitched myself up because
Yeah.
this was terrible from me. This is terrible form. And Jacko,
So can you explain, like, what is this a podcast?
No,
is this
a podcast didn't
I
exist.
don't know.
How old were you in 2004,
What was it?
Adrian?
2004.
Oh, hang on.
It was
Look at-
2004.
It's 2004.
Look at his eyes. Look, he's looking down. Ash is looking downwards.
You look
He's
like a
twitching his
demon
fingers.
there,
He
right?
looks like
No
he's
good.
He's got no media representation. That would be
I was
pissing
showing
off
Jacko
Krause.
this at work today, and I had to turn it off because I was copying such
Look
a
how
roast.
scared you look.
Oh,
I
well,
reckon
that's-
I was
wasn't-
10 years old.
I wasn't his media manager at that point, so
Were you
there was no
born?
media training
That's
going
every
on.
sin of a driver right
Just
there.
before we
Terrible.
dive into this,
I was born
Terrible.
2001.
so
So
you
you
were
were
3.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 33, so I would be
2004.
10.
You were 10.
Yeah.
So you were
Baby
knee high to
still,
a
yeah.
grasshopper as well. So I was 21
Were you?
in 2004.
17 or 18 there.
And how old was Simon?
Oh,
Well, this was 3 years after he'd won the Super 2 championship.
Yeah.
Well, 2 years after he'd won Super
He's
2.
in main
he
game
was
at
a
this
proper
point.
main
He's a
game
main game
supercar
driver.
driver at this point.
He won a supercar race at
Yeah.
the QR.
Absolutely. He held the Bathurst
Was
lap
that-
record
was that
for
Team
about 8
Dynamic?
years.
He won it
yeah,
in? Yeah.
yeah.
Did they? Yeah. And who's the lady? Is she a presenter?
So
You-
that's Louise.
Right.
We and this sounds dodgier than it actually is. We literally picked her up at the Adelaide 500. So this this show was called Talk TV.
Right.
It was 2 very good mates of mine's final year university project, and I got picked up into this from doing community radio,
Right.
and met Dwayne Blee, who I still stay in touch with Dwayne and Dave through that, and promoting go-kart racing, which Dwayne raced in up at Robinson Park in Nururutpa.
okay.
And we'd got to know each other through the radio show I was doing on community radio, and they were like, oh, our final year uni media project, media studies at McGill Uni SA, we're doing a TV show. Do you want to host it? I was like, yeah, I do.
So why are you so orange? Because but Asher's not orange. Look,
well, that was probably
he's great. They haven't got After Effects back.
No, mate. This show. So we produced Talk TV. We produced 34 episodes in a year.
Oh, right. So it's not just a one-off. This is
this was on Channel 44.
That means every week this was
every
on.
week.
Yeah. So we would shoot on a weekend. We would go to South Australian Rally Championship rounds. We'd go to Malalafa State rounds. We'd go to race teams.
Just interviews, or you would cover?
We would cover racing. We did full highlight shows of SARC.
So it's like a speed week,
go-karting.
Yeah.
With the studio section, which we'd film on a Wednesday night.
Is this in Adelaide?
Yeah, McGill Uni.
Right.
Yep. We'd film on a Wednesday night, and then inevitably late Wednesday night / early Thursday morning, because it would always run late. The boys would frantically throw it all together Thursday, Friday, and then it aired on Channel 44.
Yeah, I remember that.
TV on Friday
Is that
night.
still around?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Asher hasn't aged at all, though. He looks
come
the
on.
same.
Dusty.
Seriously?
Slim Shady.
This hasn't gone well for me, has it?
When do you talk? When do you talk?
Yeah, no.
Simon's taken all it over.
Well, he was the professional race car driver.
He
It's
was.
fairly intimidating for me at this point. This is this is.
So
my
he was
first media
coaching
appearance.
you for the year?
So this was part of the driver development program, the Rising Star thing that Motorsport Australia had. So
Right.
they put us all with mentors.
Yeah.
So I think Greg Murphy was involved. There was 4 of us. So it was Murphy. And so obviously Simon was in Adelaide
Yeah.
at that point. So we were a good fit. And I already knew Simon from watching him race, and I'd met him a couple of times, and it was a good fit. So for me, this worked out really well. And looking back now, knowing what I know now with what Simon and I have achieved through racing and through business, it's a really cool memento to have, because
You work with Simon? Like, how does that partnership work with Check It Out? Check It Out Graphics is your company?
Is my company, yeah. So Simon got involved in sign writing at Dynamics. So he sign wrote the cars during the week and then drove them on the weekend.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then when the team finished up, he started his own design and sign writing business called Design Effects. And we had kept in touch. So that's post what you're seeing now. And every now and then he'd need an extra set of hands, or I'd drop in. He had a shop over on Richmond Road. Or firstly it's on Obama Drive, and then he moved to Richmond Road. And if they needed extra help, I was just a one-man band. So I'd go and spend a few hours or a day or whatever and help out his team that he had. And then that all sort of wound up, and his family his mum and dad went back to New Zealand, and I said, well, do you want to come and work for me and bring your customers with you, and we'll keep going.
You tried to steal his customers, did you?
Well, it may appear that way, but no, it was more about, we were sort of in a pretty good, I was spending a lot of time there, and then at that point he was doing a few hours for me as well, and I needed extra help too.
Yep.
So it sort of was a good fit. And that was 2013.
So you started with race cars, or you were doing all different signage? Or?
Well, we were doing I was doing everything, because I was just trying to make a buck.
Yep, to fund the racing.
Yeah, correct. And when he came across, a lot of their business from Design Effects was sort of more corporate stuff.
Yep.
But just with us being involved at state level and doing the Excel stuff together, we've got to a point where now it's probably like 80, 90% we do race car stuff. And if it's not race car stuff, it's vehicles. So we do very, very little like shop signage and regular stuff. We're sort of so
There's Simon
niche.
Wills there.
There's the big fella. There he goes.
Talk
Look at
TV.
that.
Should bring that back, Richard.
How
Talk
are the
TV.
Look at him go.
Graphics, you reckon?
What a
How are
hottie.
the
What a
graphics?
hottie, Simon. Far out.
It was a lot harder to make TV 20 years ago.
Now
Like,
you just-
we would have killed for all of this stuff 21 years ago. When
I wouldn't be using one of those old cameras, mate. Far out.
Well, you
mate.
wind up cameras?
They were bloody close to it. The uni didn't have a massive TV budget, but they were good days. And that's where Ash and I met, and Simon.
So
to
that was
point.
the first time you ever met
Crail, yeah.
that interview.
Wow.
Is that,
interview,
that's
yeah.
crazy.
Yep.
That is amazing that you found that. And what a cool piece of history.
Yeah.
And then you probably click the dots like, oh my God, we're running a race team now.
Well, it's actually funny
That's the core of-
apart from Louise, the two people in that I now do business with.
Yes. Yeah, correct.
I'm in business with Crail. We own the business together, and Simon and I work together. So it is a cool piece of footage.
You
for
and
me.
Simon have done so much for motorsport wrapping and sign writing as well. I mean, you've been in business now for how long? It's been going. You had a post you shared. It's been like
So we'll check it out. It's been going now since 2003. Was the first time I registered it properly. That's what 22 years. And then Simon's been a part of that, on and off at the start, probably since around 2009, 2010, and then he's been working with me, sort of full time since about 2013 or 14. So.
And now you've got Jack, who's also working at the shop. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
They're all in the same room together. Now Richard's going to be next.
No, Jacko's great. Jacko is one of the hardest working young guys I've ever met, and that's one of the reasons why I said to Crail, we need to give him a shot with the second car. When we started talking about that, he's going to get a big head watching this back, I think, because I said when I left that all I was going to do was hang shit on him this summer.
He doesn't say many words, Jack. He's a quiet
He's very
assassin.
quiet.
He is.
We'll do some media training with him at some point.
But that's, I think, one of his best qualities is and you've noted Crail too, like his ups and his downs are very, very close. So he's so level-headed, which is why he's so fast. And that's, as a worker, from I look at it from a business point of view, he's just absolutely perfect, and he learns really fast, and you just don't get that with a lot of the young guys now. So, and we very rarely expand our staff. We try and just maximise our time, like Simon and I, with the business we have, and try and make the most out of what we've got without going overboard. And we don't look too far around normally. But when Jack sort of presented, and his shop, where he works with his dad, is only down the back of ours, so it's a stone's throw, literally. Yeah. And he was keen, and it's just been the best thing for the business for us to have him on. He's been a really good addition, and then on to the race team as well. It's been fantastic.
I've always been pretty proud for, I guess this is XLs in the core, but XLs have been known to have the SA series having the best looking cars, and most of the wraps are from Check It Out graphics. For like XLs, everyone goes to Check It Out graphics and our cars do stand out. Like they are very good looking cars.
Mishes stuff?
We do all the Mishes stuff. We do a lot of kits now as well. We send stuff all over the country. And that's something a couple of years ago we sort of really nailed down to try and get the kits to a point where they didn't have to be installed by us.
Yep.
So we spend a lot of time really tweaking that and getting it as easy as possible for people to do themselves, or get a sign writer locally to do.
You use Graphic Art Mark?
We do. We do.
Plug it in.
Great sponsor of the race team. Great sponsor of the race team.
Do you use them for the kits as well?
Yeah, so we use 99% Avery products.
It's good stuff.
All bought through Graphic Art Mark.
Wrap the ute. You can
Bubbles come out.
Conformable air release. It's just insane.
Richard there, who's the SA, the main man in SA, he's a really big race fan too. So we have a really good relationship. He comes out to the racetrack when we're local. Yeah. He really gets around what we do. So he's been a massive supporter, and it helps. If it helps the business, it helps us go racing, because
it's not cheap.
Leads to the other.
Like this material these days, to do a modern car like a Commodore, you're looking at a couple of $1,000 just on material.
Yeah.
But I feel like people still complain a lot. Like they still judge the price. They don't realise that the labour
everything's
involved.
gone up.
It's a skill. That's a very hard skill.
The worst thing about wrapping is that people leave it to the last minute.
That's exactly right. It's last minute motors, and people go, "Oh, there's stickers. It shouldn't cost that much." But at the end of the day, it's a really labour intensive job putting it on, and it's also like, so that's sort of my role in the business is the application side. Whereas on Simon's end, there's a lot of work that he does as well. So if you send a logo, for instance, and we just got this today where someone's emailed a logo, and we ask a certain format that we can use and expand and not lose quality and all that sort of stuff. And if that doesn't happen, then Simon has to go and redraw, and it's
100K
hours
JPEG.
And hours of work.
It's 100K JPEG, and they want to explode it the size of this. You know,
not easy.
And then trying to fit that. So the kit that we do for XLs is sort of like a one price kit. And to try and fit all that in, so sometimes where we then try and make a little bit back is in the repairs.
Redrawing. Digital redrawing. Actually
repairing the car.
Oh, right.
So we try and do as much as we. Dusty comes in quite a lot. But that's sort of the kit price. We don't make a whole lot of money on. It's more the return business. So once it's on the car.
A good model.
So when Dusty
bins it every weekend.
It's a sponsorship package.
Yeah. Did he not drive past you on the weekend? You're like, oh, well, there's a few bucks for us. Yeah.
I was looking at my front bumper. It's already scratched up. I'm like, shit. Isn't that presentation is key? You know.
Well, we might address the elephant in the room. the Aussie Racing Car engines. So
Yep.
obviously there's been a lot of news going out there at the moment with, V8 Sleuth and Speed Cafe talking about the debacle that went on at the Tasmanian round. And from what I gather, obviously there's new owners with Aussie Racing Cars, and obviously they've opened up some sort of rule or something with this big bore, bigger pistons. I'm not sure. So I guess you two were being pretty vocal with your social media and sort of voicing your concerns and what was not right about the way they went about it. And I'd like to get your thought on what you think about that, and I'll probably bring in after that of what we used to do 10 years ago in the Aussie cars.
What, how you cheated?
We had
Trophies up
that
there.
all sealed.
But we're just taking it back as well, because there's new ownership this year people probably are aware of. So TFH is now taking ownership. After a round, was it after Sydney, if that is correct? So then, starting from there, really, like how has it all come about?
It's a long and convoluted story, and I'd encourage people to go and read up on it before passing judgment. But to give TFH their credit, since they've bought the category, the one thing they did do early was ask around what people wanted from it. So when that's traditional when you buy a business is you find out what your customers want, right? So you can service them better. And they did a good job of that. And the biggest number one feedback they got from their opening round in Sydney was that the engine process in the category wasn't working. And that was that by the regulations, Craigstead was the control engine provider for the category. And that's expensive. And for us, I mean, it's a couple of grand in freight alone to get an engine back to Queensland and back before they even open it up. So there's a huge expense in that. So what they did was they went and opened the engine rules up so that if we wanted to, we could build our own engines. We're fortunate in that Jack Boyd and his dad are gurus at Aussie Racing Cars engines. So we were like, fantastic, great. This is going to save us money. We can do it ourselves. We can do it in-house. Maybe we can build some engines for other people as well.
Yep.
So there's a business element to it as well. Great, fantastic. That was round one. Round two, it was bubbling behind the scenes about an inequality in the series between some that had more motivation straight line wise than others, right? And that and you could probably equate to this from your time, that's always been bubbling under the surface. But from our point of view, there was a set of technical regulations. We were going to play by them, and we were working on the basis that the category was going to police everybody enough that the approved tech regs would be what people were playing to. We get to Simmons Plains and we got destroyed in a straight line there. Like I think we were 6/10 down in the microsectors between the hairpin and turn 6. So it absolutely smoked in a category which, if you've got 2 more horsepower than the next guy, you've got a massive
smaller
advantage.
horsepower, the more percentage gain.
550 kilo race car, a small percentage gain in horsepower is a lot of lap time. Unbeknownst to us, at least.
So there's rumours starting to murmur in the background.
There was a lot of murmuring. There was already murmuring.
Who knows?
There was already murmuring going on. And frankly, I talked earlier about the fact that we got that podium at Sydney, and that was lucky because we were the 6th fastest car there, or 5th fastest car. Top 4 cars were in a different car race. So Joel Heinrich, who's a gun, Cody Garland, Mason Harvey, was Chapo.
I think it was Chapo as well.
Reese,
was up there.
and Reese is great.
Yep.
And to be fair, they were in a different race in Sydney.
Even though you got a result, the pace was just...
We weren't there. We
Yep.
were best of the rest, which
Yep.
was fine by us where we're at. But Tassie, we got our pants pulled down and we weren't the only ones. And that was annoying. And it was very clear that there were haves and have-nots in terms of an engine performance thing. And to be fair, the category had worked this out. But the thing that frustrated me more about them changing the regulations mid-season, more fundamentally changing them, more than anything was there was no consultation whatsoever before they rolled out on Saturday and told a group of us that they were going to allow for people to build bigger engines. That was the number one thing that pissed me off, was there wasn't a conversation like, hey, you guys have got experience in the category. Boyds have been building engines. What do you think we should do?
Consultation.
There was no
transparency.
consultation. There wasn't an email. There wasn't any conversation whatsoever to your stakeholders
Yep.
about what the category should do. And you might privately own the category 100%, but your stakeholders are your competitors that are paying your entry fee every week. And without them, you don't have a category.
No.
You've just got the piece of paper
Treat
that
them
says
with
you own it.
respect. Yeah.
And that was the thing that frustrated me the most, was that there was no collaboration around it, and there was no communication, and there was no, okay, well, some people are still running a 1250cc engine like we were by the letter of the rules post Sydney. Some people might not be, but so there's this awkward haves and have-nots. How are we going to manage this for the rest of the year? And then 26, okay, everyone build a new engine, everyone runs to a new set of regs, away you go. That we would have been okay with that.
been okay
I
with
reckon.
that.
Formal direction, some clarification
Yep.
of where we're heading as a category.
Yep.
Let the customers know where we're heading, what
Correct.
we're doing. And there wasn't that.
There wasn't that.
Because for us, like for me, we were pitted across the road from you. We seen, I think it was Saturday, there was some gangs of people starting to, and really a lot of waving
Saturday
and
afternoon
arguments.
is when it really
and I was
started
like,
to-
what's going on over here?
Yeah.
Like some groups of people huddling around in front of the tents, and it was concerning to us, like shouting and angry people. And then we started to hear the whispers of what's going on. So it's interesting.
It's
a shame that
it was
gone.
frustrating, and that was the most frustrating thing from us at a personal level. We were all for what they done in Sydney with the rule change about
As in
building our own
not
engines.
letting a category builder. We'll clarify
Yeah,
that. 'cause-
we were all for that, because as long as you played by the rules,
Yep.
you saved yourself a heap of money by building your own engine. And we were okay with that. And we were fortunate that we had this beautiful new relationship with the boys where
Yep.
they could build our engines. So we built one
Yep.
after Sydney. Our engine needed a refresh.
Correct.
to
So we
the
went, well,
rules
yes.
of what the regulations.
So we come out of
engine.
Sydney, and the regulations that they changed said, crossed out, you must, Craigstead is the nominated engine category.
Yep.
Build your own engine to the approved regs.
which is
Standard pistons.
1250cc
And they specified using OEM Yamaha this.
Yep.
And,
in the rules.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
it was in an email too.
Yes,
So
correct.
everyone prior to going
Is
to
it
Tasmania,
stamped by MA?
Well,
ratified.
The technical regulations were updated post round one.
right.
that said that.
Ratified by MA.
Yeah. So we said, beauty, this is great. Our engine needed a refresh because
Yep.
we blew it up in
Yep.
Sydney and we ran a spare. Brilliant. This is great timing.
Right.
We'll rebuild
Yep.
our engine. We can do it ourselves.
and we
To
were
the
excited too
regulations.
because
Yeah.
we're going to Tassie. It's a horsepower track.
Yeah.
We're going to have
a fresh engine,
Correct.
0K. We're going to be in really
Yeah.
good shape. We're finally going to get a bloody result.
Yeah.
So we spent, $5,000? I don't know.
Yeah,
Whatever it is.
around
Yep.
that,
I,
yeah.
I get sheltered from these invoices.
A lot of
And
that got
you-
covered by Jacko being such a nice
Yeah.
guy that he didn't charge for. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct. You're going to regret saying that again. There's too much
I am.
nice stuff
I'm being
about
too
young
nice to
Jacko.
Jacko.
We're
Cut
bringing
that
the
one
bad
out.
stuff
Can
into
we,
it.
can we
Just
cut that?
just a little edit point right there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
so
so
anyway,
the
in other words-
goalposts were changed.
Yes.
Is that
So-
where
so
we're going
that,
here?
That was the analogy I sort of said after that weekend in Tassie, where it'd be like an AFL game and one team's down 50 points and go, okay, we'll make the goals 5 metres wider for them, make it easier to kick goals. That was the frustrating thing. I'm fundamentally okay with them making the engines bigger. That doesn't bother me. If we had to build a new engine at the end of the season, whatever. If it does, in the end, make the engines more reliable and bring parity to the class, great. It should. It needs
Yeah.
it, clearly, for the product to be good, because it's such a good product.
100%.
It is bloody good racing. And when you get, and even in Tassie, like I think Joel won a race by half a 15th of a bumper, and it's a brilliant show. Great show. But yeah, they've just got to get this technical stuff right. And the thing that ground my gears the most was that they just crashed it in mid-season with no consultation. And
Did they change it mid-event? Is that the confusion here?
I feel
Because
like
that's what
some
I've-
people knew coming in because they rolled up with big bores ready to go.
Yeah.
So
So
what
they
is
knew,
it? Is
but
it
you
a
didn't.
bigger
Correct.
bore,
Yeah.
bigger piston?
Correct.
Simple as that. Is that the whole
It's
angry-
3 mil from 79 to 82 cc.
So
per
XJR
cylinder bore.
1300 is what
Yeah.
they're running
And then
now.
What they were saying in the meeting in Tasmania was it was going to be, as long as it fit within the XJR case, you could do whatever you want. That's now
Whoa.
changed. That's now changed.
Oh, right.
But-
So that's what they said,
Yeah.
but then it's been formally changed after. Okay,
Correct.
right.
So I don't know exactly what was being run by others, but I would assume it was quite a bit bigger than what certainly we had in our car.
I mean, 6/10 in a
Yeah,
straight line.
Yeah.
on one of the 3 long straights at Simmons.
Yeah.
So that was what irritated us, and I felt compelled from our point of view, and we can't, Asher and I and the Boyds, we can't afford to race this category without support from sponsors, and we've worked extremely hard to find a commercial program to allow us to go racing, and it's skin of our teeth stuff.
Yep.
Like, we're both chipping in where we can and where we need to, but we needed to communicate the reasons why we were going to have to park up.
So you've parked up for Perth. Half the reason for this sort of thing?
No, I think it's the full reason.
Okay, understood.
Because we could spend the money on going to Perth and get destroyed,
Yep.
or spend the money on new engines,
Yep.
basically.
There's another option. Yeah.
And having just done it too, like
That was galling. Yeah.
that's the hard bit to swallow. It's almost like we're having to pay for
Do it again.
Yeah, do it again. It's not $5,000; it's $10,000 we put into engines in the last, and that's only one engine. Like, well, then we've got Jack's engines, we've got spare engines. Yeah, it starts to add up really quickly, and we're just not built for that at the moment.
Fair enough. That's interesting.
What was the reason why they decided for the engines to have a bigger bore? Like, what was it? Just because?
That's a good call.
So in the meeting, what we were told is basically that the TFH guys have been involved in the category for a couple of years, and they, and I'll quote, have been cheating their asses off the day after they got into the category.
Because they saw everyone else, or quote everyone else, which some others were.
Fair enough. Yep.
So that was the reason, and they were going to open it up so everyone had the opportunity to be as fast as everyone else. If you're not fast enough, it's your fault. If it blows up, it's your fault. It's all on the competitor and the team, which to some degree makes sense to me. But for us to be able to get there, there's so much R&D that has to go on. So we ran a new engine, our first iteration of what we were going to do in Jack's car last weekend at the Bend, and that lasted a lap.
Yep.
So we'll scrap that one and we'll start again. So
is that bang and the board, the head's done?
That one broke properly.
But is the head, like, you
I think
can't
the head-
rectify?
look, he had a look. I think the head's okay. I think
Right.
it's more bottom end issue, but
It could be worse.
100%. But yeah, so now all the effort that's gone into that, we then all right, we'll scrap that, and that's where the cost comes. So it's not actually building the
R&D.
one engine. That's fine. You know, that's probably not the expensive bit. It's finding how to build the one engine now, and probably for the next 18 months, the category is going to go into a development war.
An arms race.
Does that
Correct.
then cause more mechanical failures with the
Of course.
bigger components?
More oil, more safety cars, less show. You know what I mean? When you look at it like that, like
The other thing that grinds my gears a bit about it is that it sort of goes against where motorsport is going, where motorsport is traditionally now becoming more and more controlled from a technical point of view, and more control components. So we talked about the ute engines, right?
100%.
Your ute engine is borderline identical to what everyone
One
else is
supplier.
running. Correct. Supercars, everyone runs the same Ford or same Chev engine. Toyotas, they're all sealed.
Yep.
Porsches,
One
they're all
person.
sealed. They can't even be
Yeah.
open in this part of the world. Like,
so
everything is becoming more and more controlled, so that when you go and buy a brand new Cup car engine, it's exactly the same as what Andy McElroy's running in Queensland or Mick and Maria Ritter are running in Sydney, and it's not a factor. You don't have to worry about it. Whereas now it's going to be a question mark in Aussie Racing Cars as to we'll rock up, but do we know what we're running is as potent as what Joel Heinrich's going to run?
it's
Probably
gonna
not.
the field spread, I think, may increase, and that's not what it used to be.
The motivation for doing it, I think, is correct.
Can I jump in for a sec?
The execution is.
I'll
has
jump in
not
for
been.
Richard. Like, I think, okay, so maybe the category and the competitors weren't happy with Craig Hasted, just to say, right? Why not consult another engine builder that may want that contract and has their shit together? And maybe that could be a better way to go forward. Maybe they're doing it at a better price. They lock in that price for a 5-year period. And this is the standards we set and KPIs that if it blows up within 2 rounds, whatever the case may be, maybe that was a better way to go, possibly.
I think that's the frustration, is that there was no consultation about that sort of thing.
Well, is that because there's no shareholders within? For us as the V8 Super Utes, we have a shareholders, we have votes, we have shareholder meetings every month. We vote on decisions that get made, whether it's technical, whether it's promotion, whether it's where we go, and we can actually have input, and it's all documented with minutes of the meeting, and it's done a bit more formal, and maybe that's the letdown with the way it's going with Aussie Cars, possibly. One person makes the decision?
Possibly. My opinion on how categories should be run in motorsport is influenced on 20 years of working for some really good ones and some that haven't been great. So I think I've got a pretty broad experience in what makes a good category setup. And what Super Utes have got is a decent model that's worked in the past. V8 Utes succeeded for a long time having a very...
Yep.
What I think motorsport, I think, has proved over the years it can't be run as a democracy. You can't put a vote up and go, yep, this is the way we want to go, because it generally won't work.
Why is that?
Well, I think you need someone to make an ultimate decision sometimes for the good of everybody.
Yep.
So Supercars had a bunch of licensees who had a say in how the sport was run, and then Tony went, yep, great, thanks for input, but we're doing it this way.
Yep.
I think that's the best model, to be honest.
Yep.
And with my own experience, so I've been involved in Porsche racing for 15 years now, and Porsche is very collaborative about how they operate the series day to day, but ultimately they're going to run it the way that they and Germany want it to be run, and if the teams don't like it, too bad. But
that's a global sort of...
It is, and that's probably a too broad example to cite perhaps, but I think you need to have competitor consultation. You need to have feedback. You need to have an opportunity where Adrian Cottrell or Matt Totani can go, I really think we should be doing it this way. I'd love to see this. Yep, thanks for your input. Really like it. We'll table it. Maybe we'll take 10% of what you've got. Maybe we'll take 10% of what you've offered, 10% of what you've offered, but then we've got this idea. We'll merge it in together. You need to give the competitors their say and their voice, but ultimately I think you need to go, but in our opinion, we're going to do it this way. I think what has been demonstrated so far is that there just hasn't been that level of interaction that we would have liked, especially to go, hey, what do you guys think? If they'd done that before that meeting and then they'd had the meeting and said, we've taken all your input on board, we're still going to go down this path, I think we probably would have felt a little bit better, a little bit less aggrieved about the whole situation, and maybe wouldn't have teed off with a statement like we did.
Something else we can sort of talk about is the Indy 500. We'll touch on that. Larson, he didn't have a good weekend. He crashed in the NASCAR and crashed in the IndyCar.
How much do you follow IndyCar?
Very closely.
Awesome.
Okay.
He loves his wings and slicks. He's a wings and slicks at heart.
You didn't go this year because the engine costs. Is that right?
Is it my fault you didn't go?
Right, I see where you're going.
No.
Nolte is right
my good
there.
colleague, friend of the show, Matt Nolte, is there, was there.
He's flying home today, I think.
Yes, he's got some work to do in Sydney this weekend, Super Series round.
Yep.
He's been several times. I went in 2016, and it's one of the great motorsport experiences of my life. For that was the 100th Indy 500. The greatest?
Yeah.
One of. It's right up there. It's right up there. What
other is close to that?
Well, I hate to event drop, but the Daytona 500 and Le Mans 24 Hour are right up there as well. I would struggle to split them, but the one I wanted to go to the most was Indy. So let's say the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've actually got a car on display there this year that we've done some work on.
Aussie car?
No, maybe next year. So we did some work for Vern Schuppen late last year, and he bought back one of his Indy cars, I think from 1980 or 1981. And we redid the livery on it, and that's over on display at Indy.
In the museum?
In the museum,
So have you been to America?
I have, and
to the Indy?
I've been to Indy, but not when the race was on.
Same as me. Yeah. So we went over there and did the museum. We watched the BC39, which is a speedway midget sort of race on the. It's a speedway track on the little corner of the infield. That's how big the Indianapolis
crazy.
Well, that was what the Adelaide 500 sprint car stuff last year was modelled on. Was they built a temporary speedway on the inside of Turn 3. At Indianapolis, and it was temporary. They tear it down every year, and they've just left it there now.
Yes,
it was initially temporary, and now it's just there permanently for the BC.
It's that big.
Yeah,
that's insane.
When you go there, it smashes all your ideas on motorsport. Like He's got a golf course, a full-size golf course on the infield. And it's only a quarter of the...
That's insane.
So it's 2.5 miles.
Yeah.
So Adelaide's CBD, right? We're all in Adelaide. Adelaide's CBD is called the Square Mile because it's a mile, North Terrace, West Terrace, East and South. They're all a mile long, 1.6 Ks. So if you put the front straight of Indianapolis Speedway on North Terrace, it would go the entire length of North Terrace from Parkland to Parkland, right? Then the back straight would be, I'm trying to work out what one of the, it'd be the other side of
You'd nearly get
Victoria
Adelaide
Square in the centre of Adelaide.
inside
The CBD. You get a good chunk of the CBD. All the North Terrace, Rundle Mall, Hindley Street, all of it
Inside.
would fit on the infield of IMS.
That explains it.
That's
once you
why
think
when
of
I
it that
say
way-
to you, I try and explain it to
And they lap
Dusty.
it in 45
Yeah,
seconds.
they're moving. They are moving so fast.
You know you're alive. So when we went in 2016, Noltz was there with me and a couple of others, and we were there because our good friend Brett Murray was running Matt Brabham in the Protect Team Murray car.
Philippa was there.
Philippa was there, absolutely
go.
correct. She was PR guru for it. So we'd had, I'm going to say, quite a substantial night on Thursday night. It's that first
Carb
night.
Or is
Friday's carb day.
Right, okay.
So it was that traditional first night in town. Right, we're in Indy. We're here for the 500. This is going to be amazing. Let's go and have some beers.
okay.
Anyway, cut to the scene 6 hours later. We were very dusty on carb day.
Dusty.
So fun.
Where did you go out? In Indianapolis?
Yeah. Colts Bar and Grill.
Right.
It's like the official bar of the Indianapolis Colts, the NFL team. So it was a big night. We hit it pretty hard. And we got up on Friday and we were like, oh, jeez.
No, it's on a big night. I don't know if that works, does it?
And we're like, this isn't great. But anyway, it's carb day.
Yeah.
We've got to go to the Speedway. Anyway, we got into the Speedway about an hour before the practice session they run there, which starts at, I think it started at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. And we're feeling pretty bad. And we're just sitting up in the grandstands at Turn 1 in the sun, just trying to get a bit of vitamin D recovery.
Out the alcohol.
Yeah. And anyway, the Indy cars rolled out. It's the first time either of us ever seen an Indy car on a super speedway.
Right.
And it was Elio Castroneves. He was in the Pennzoil car that Scotty drove this year.
The yellow submarine.
Yep. Fires out back straight on his outlap. And then, anyway, 45 seconds later, you see him come out of turn 4, pinned. And the thing is flat out. And we're at turn 1. And there is zero change in engine note. Rotates the car through at 225 miles an hour through turn 1. And we're like, well, that's the hangover gone. it was unbelievable. And then we had 57 Miller Lights and watched Carb Day and watched the pit stop comp and away we went. But it was
the sheer, like it's like a fighter jet on ground.
Yeah. I mean,
Nearly 400 Ks an hour.
Yeah.
Like it's just under 400 Ks an hour.
You know, I look at stories in the past, and I mean, I don't know if I'm correct in this, but the cars have slowed down. Like you look at like Dan Weldon, like his accident, and like how crazy the cars were back.
Nah.
they're
Steve
safer
Johnston.
now. They've learned more about how to keep them on the ground and things like that as well.
But I think also they don't race at some of those speedways that you're talking about. So they've brought it back to sort of some NASCAR tracks, but not. They've brought it back to more road course stuff now.
I think the other thing as well is that Indianapolis, if you talk to a lot of the drivers, it's in some respects closer to a road course than it is a super speedway because it's long straight, 90-degree corner, long straight. It just happens the 90-degree corner's 220 miles an hour at the apex.
Insane.
But so that's why a lot of drivers have been able to go there and be quite competitive so quickly on that place because it does have, it's not that high banking pack racing stuff that you get on a super
love
speedway.
watching that, like taking the risk versus reward side of things and
it's such a special race. The start of that is like nothing I've ever experienced.
Who was it? 300,000 people.
Yeah, it was sold out on the weekend.
It's the most attended sporting event day in the planet.
I did not know that.
Seriously, I'm 90% certain.
It is 230,000 grandstand seats, and then the infield fits another 150.
Can you hear the crew?
Oh,
yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, it's really
If
special.
someone makes a pass or something, you can hear it over the note.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you want to go next year?
I do want to go.
I like it.
The way that you
not-
explain things, it makes me feel like I'm missing something.
No,
Yeah, you
American sport. Like there's something about American sport, whether it's ice hockey, gridiron, NASCAR, that the fans are just passionate.
Yeah.
They wear their hat proud. There's something about American sport.
You're exactly right. So I've been lucky enough. I've been to a couple of NASCAR races,
Right.
and when they do the national anthem, it doesn't matter.
Shivers down my spine.
100%. I was 100%. Took words out of my mouth. It's just the best, the best moment, I think. And like, I'm pretty patriotic being Australian, but to hear the way they go about it is just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
It just gives me shivers down my spine now. The hair raises up. Like,
It's so
when you
special.
see it and they cheer.
And everyone,
America! Like,
everyone
it's
respects it too. Like, there's
100%.
no one whistling or carrying
Nah.
on or whatever. There's
Their culture is strong.
Yeah.
But they so good at a tradition.
Yep. Whether
And-
it's their anthem, whether it's the jets flying past, whether it's the band playing or the music, that is the flag. Like, their flags. The American flag would be half of my house.
Yeah, it's huge. Absolutely.
Like, I'm serious.
And you live in
dude.
a mansion.
Yeah, but this is quite long. We're even shooting this here.
Yeah.
But no, the flag
Yeah.
would be like, some of these flags are on top of, say,
Does
an
it come from a
RV.
helicopter? Like, they get it from a helicopter, and like, how does the
No,
ceremony
no,
work
I mean
for
just
Indy?
driving on the interstate highway.
Oh,
and then you see in just a random manufacturing place, and they're proud to be American, and they've got their flag. It's a $35,000
Yeah.
flag that they front.
It's such a contradiction, that place. It's so deeply flawed, but it's so
Yeah.
unbelievably great in so many
They've
areas.
got pros and cons.
Yeah.
But I do
Their
like the
sport
way
is-
they like their culture, and they stick behind it. It's interesting.
Go to Indy. You will not regret it.
No.
I guarantee you.
just the museum, like what they used to race back in the day with their old IndyCar or
It's-
old sprint cars and stuff. It's based on, they used to have two people in an IndyCar, and the passenger used to work on the car. They used to jump out with a spanner and a spare tire and change it and get back in, strap back in and drive. That's how 100 years ago.
Yeah. So they started racing there in 1909. So there's 110 Indy 500s worth of history into it, and so many people have been killed or across the journey, and so many incredible moments that are just etched in the folklore of sport have happened there in 110 years. I mean, that's half the history of South Australia. It's ridiculous.
And there's a lot of cross-link between speedway racing and NASCAR /
Yeah.
IndyCar. Just
Yeah.
the way that they go about, I guess, speedway racing. So
It's-
lineage and culture and just history on all those different types of racing. It's awesome.
The way I look at it is the industry around it as well. So where I've been when we've gone to America is in around Charlotte area and
Right.
Mooresville in particular, which is basically a suburb. Call it a suburb, it's probably bigger than that, but built around sustaining the NASCAR industry.
Yeah.
So you can throw a stone and you can hit a race shop, with trucks in it, or race gear, or a sign writing place, so I just love going there and driving around.
It's cool, isn't it?
And just find you come across a museum, or you're always learning. I've just rolled up on sign writing places and said,
Yeah.
"Hey, what are you doing? Can you show me? Can you do this?"
It's
And
all based around
it's all
motorsport.
motorsport based.
Whether it's a
amazing.
trailer manufacturer, a designer, a engineering company, a
wind tunnel, like it's out of control.
How
And
long?
Indianapolis is the same. So
Yeah. For
the
IndyCar.
suburb of Indy. So there's Indianapolis is
Speedway,
the
Indiana.
state. Sorry, Indiana
Indiana's the
is the
state.
state. Indianapolis is the city.
Yep.
Indy is the town.
Well,
I believe
the
is that
suburb,
have I got that right?
the suburb or the city, as they call it, that the racetrack is in, is called Speedway.
Speedway.
Indiana.
So
Yeah.
all of the streets are named after drivers. There's shops, like restaurants, all based. I'm not talking like one street. I'm talking streets and streets and streets and streets of restaurants and bars and fucking. It's crazy.
When you come out of it used to be the famous intersection 16th and George, so George Street and 16th Street. You come out of that and you walk across it, and is Main Street Speedway, the suburb. And there are
serious.
there are 3 race teams on Main Street.
And at Bathurst, you just get a campground that's got named after
Yeah.
drivers.
Well, like
So it's
Bathurst has got the
imagine that.
mini, and I love Bathurst because that is a mini Indy.
It is. It's a place where you walk in and you can feel the ghosts
Yeah.
of the people that have been there.
I'm not superstitious. I'm not I don't believe in ghosts, but I feel that aura when you walk in to, you can, there's been some racing here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can sense it.
Yeah, all the greats, like Bathurst, all the greats
Yeah.
have succeeded there.
Yeah.
More than anything else, all of the greats, and not just, US greats, but back to the day, like Jim Clark, Jackie Stewart, they all raced there. Graham Hill, they all raced at Indianapolis as well because it was that mythical race, even back then in the 50s and 60s.
So was F1 bigger than Indy? Like, well, we're talking like 80 years ago. Like,
not in the States, it wasn't. No. But they'd all come over and race in there. I mean,
right.
Lotus introduced rear engine cars to the Yanks.
Right.
They were still running. They were still running big front engine speedway specials at Indy,
and then Formula One technology came.
Lotus came over with this
right?
lightweight rear engine car, and all the Yanks went, "You're going to get destroyed." And in a couple of years, Jim Clark, they went out and won the race. And AJ Foyt ended up driving one, and that was now, of course, there is every bit as potent as a Formula One car. So
it's interesting to see how the American company that took on Formula One has brought Formula One into the American market. How that's going to work out between Indy and F1. The fight, F1 is so big now.
Yeah, it's not a contest.
It's not a
contest.
Indy's one thing. So separate Indy, because that's just huge in its own thing. The Indy racing category just hasn't, it's not like F1.
It's better racing.
Oh, 100. We've talked about this every single podcast.
It's better racing, but it's never going to be anything more than a domestic US category with a couple of maybe they go to Canada, they're going to go to Mexico City again. I want them to come here, but that might be a pipe dream. No. But that's about it. Formula One's the global behemoth.
And hasn't Formula One taken over? Like in the last 4 years since Netflix, it has brought motorsport, the whole motorsport up. Like I've gotten sponsors and stuff through, oh, we love motorsport now. Or people are following, fans are loving it. And they're following supercars or super utes, Aussie cars, because they love Netflix Drive to Survive.
Great.
It's crazy.
Brilliant.
Awesome. If you go on like social media, they got a new brand deal with Disney or some big
I heard
company.
that.
The F1 movie
Mickey Mouse is
you don't know what's going on.
Year.
You don't know what's going on, but the F1 movie coming out, and you can appreciate what's going into it as well. And I just want to backtrack on you, Asher, because you did go and race in America.
I did.
You did for a short, which I don't know if you know, Adrian.
No, I didn't. What's this?
Yeah, I did a late model NASCAR race over there in
that's sick.
2012. So, which was in South Carolina, in a place called a little town called Dillon. And that all came about when I sold the second time we went into Formula V. I sold the car to a guy in Queensland, and part of the deal was I went up there and helped him for a weekend. And we're at Morgan Park, and we were pitting next to another Formula V guy, and he said, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, I was already planning to go over to America. And at that stage, I was thinking, like I'd do some, like Pro-Am, something 24, 12-hour-y, try and get a test
circuit race.
In a Mustang, something or other, GT3, something. And he goes, well, have you thought about doing NASCAR stuff? And I said, well, not really, but continue. And and he goes, well, look, I know this guy and blah, 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 blah. And he said a whole lot of things. And I said, all right. So I went back to the hotel and got on the computer and Googled all this stuff that he was saying, and it seemed legit. So we sort of just went down the line, and I'd already booked my trip over there anyway. So I thought, well, let's do this. Let's go have a test and
kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, and it's something different and whatever. So I did the tests, and that's all it was ever going to be. That was sort of the end of 2011, and the team that I tested for, the guy that owned the car actually owned the racetrack as well. And he said, oh, there's a race here in the start of March. Do you want to come and drive the car? And I said, look, I don't have a lot of money, but if you want to put a deal together and blah, blah, blah. And we sort of talked back and forth for a while, and it ended up costing not a lot, like less than we pay in Aussie car entry. I'd obviously fly over there. But it was just the best experience I've ever had.
Short track or?
Short track, yeah. So I was like...
Because that's what late models not mainly run on.
Yeah, so I was elbows out.
Is it... I love... Actually, I've got a video about short track in a second we can bring up. But so you did one race or two?
I did one. Yep. I've always said pretty much every time, and I still keep in touch with the guys over there, every time I talk to them, I say, I want to come back and do more.
Yeah.
But it's so hard now, and now with a young family and with our commitments here, it's not going to happen in the short term. But I would love to go over there for a month or something like that, and because you could race 3 times a week.
Yeah.
We've raced the track. I raced that on a Saturday night. You can go somewhere on a Wednesday night, and they're all within, like a couple of hours driving.
Is that like late models and super late models? What's the difference in that?
I think it's just engine size, basically.
Right. So Aussie cars and then Aussie cars.
Class A, Class B.
They're very, very similar. But we were actually I was in like sort of the local category, so we were a support for the super late models who were in town.
Okay,
so
right.
They call it it's like the I think they call it the PASS series. I can't remember exactly what it all stood for now, but they were in town, so they had all the the local categories supporting. So they had legend cars there, and, they had these mini cup cars, and obviously late models which we were in. So
SK Modifieds, do they run on those sort of? Interested.
They
in those
weren't
things.
there then. Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
They weren't there then, but that's similar sort of thing. Yeah,
because then you go from the sort of late models to ARCA.
correct.
Yeah, because I wouldn't mind doing some ARCA stuff. Like I think I've talked to you about that before, and
We should get a group together and go over and do some races
I'm serious.
as a group. 'Cause,
I'm dead set
I'd love
serious.
to do that.
If there was any sort of a viable paved short track scene in Australia, I guarantee you our team would be in it. And we would have gone down that way before we went Aussie car racing.
Yeah.
I would do it in a heartbeat. I absolutely love it. Some of the techniques, they're
On
just
the
so
nose and the racing, the tyre life. It's just
It was so good, and I just got out of the car. So we did a 50-lap race, and I was so spent at the end of it. But mentally, not physically. It wasn't hard to drive the car. Just my brain was just mush. It was flat out the whole way, and just cars everywhere. And we were racing at night too, so
different element.
yeah,
to
all
it,
the qualifying and testing that was during the day, and then qualifying was like 2 laps in the afternoon, and then we raced at like 9:30.
You wouldn't have done much night racing. Well, I've done a lot with speedway, so I'm used to that sort of stuff.
I did a bit in karting, but not to that point. I hadn't done a lot, so
It feels like the track's bigger,
heaps.
isn't it? It's
Changes
different.
heaps.
The speed, you feel like you're going
I've been lucky
faster.
enough to do a bit now with the state series running
Yeah, okay.
night racing.
Yep.
But that was the first time I'd done a car race at night. But just the whole scene there you're talking about before, all the how everyone gets behind it in America. When we tested there, it was just a weekday, and because the guy that owned the car owned the track, he just opened up and we tested. And by about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, the town heard there was a car going around the racetrack, and they all started pulling up like an AFL country football game,
and
pulling up
watch
around
it.
and watching.
Yeah.
It was like watching training. For
Do you know,
them.
we spoke earlier about accessibility in motorsport in this country being challenging, right? I think it's the big hole that we have compared to the Yanks especially, is that their short track scene and their local track scene is so strong. And from an affordability point of view, yes, it still costs money, but it's so much more affordable than going running Cup Series or Xfinity or even ARCA. But it is a way to be seen. But it's one of my ambitions in this sport that I would love to get involved in promoting and trying to grow down the road, is finding a way where we can tap into that Wednesday night, 3 hours, local track, $10 to get in at the gate. You get 6 or 7 races, $5,000 to win, whatever it is. Find a way where we can replicate that in our fashion. Now, whether that's an oval track or whether it's a road course, I don't know. But I really want to find a way to introduce that style of the sport, because I think that is such a strong thing. And all of these NASCAR guns, Cole Larson, he came from short track racing.
Yeah, yep.
That's what that's his background.
Bell, a lot of these guys have come through the legitimate way, I guess. So it's a lot of their towns, they've got a lot of small, medium-sized towns in America. And I think that's why that, like, looking at it as a geographic sort of way, they've got so many towns everywhere. And I think that helps their smaller short track and racing.
The irony is, do you know the one place a short track would work in this country is right here in South Australia?
An international raceway.
Well, yeah. And
Yeah.
But I've asked the question. It's hard.
It's just you can dream, but it's just like
Have we boys seen this? The short track. The fight.
Oh, Bowman Gray.
How good is Bowman Gray?
Check this out. He body slams him. And then he goes after him again. This is a short track. This is what goes on weekly. And this is why the crowd love it.
Yep.
Because there's action. He took him out. He's after him. The crew's like, let him go. Put him down again. And the fans screaming, get after him. And this is what we've lost in Australian motorsport. And I'm sorry to say The Karen movement, this woke world that we live in this country has ruined this because we don't have the Greg Murphy, Ambrose sort of Scaife kind of. We don't
state
have
cricketing.
and
the fans. As a fan, you love this.
You'd be
What
putting
is this?
He's won.
This is the thing.
Yep.
Brilliant.
We went
There's
to a
passion in motorsport here.
We went to a track in America that had a sign that said "No guns in the pits," so you can just see the passion that's
Exactly.
Yeah.
The passion is the biggest word. Like, we're all, the drivers all have coffee together here. We all go cycling together. These guys, they want to race and they'll take you out to win. I don't know. We've
guys that
lost
go Bowman Grey are hardcore.
100%.
Yeah.
This is
Full
that
on.
one where it's. Is this the one where they run that the SK modified
Yes,
race?
correct,
And
yeah.
they'll literally take you out to win it.
Wow.
Yep.
They run NASCAR there this year. The Clash pre-season.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Like an Xfinity or
This
something.
track-
Cup
No.
cars.
Cup cars, yeah.
No, that's North Wilkesboro.
The Clash was recently, but the All-Star race before the start of the year.
Run on this
They
little
ran
one.
it at Bowman Grey. Yeah.
Wow.
Gizzy won there, didn't he?
Yeah.
So they'll jump through the window, Dusty. So they'll like
no doors in
if
the
someone
NASCAR.
I meant like
Crazy.
they'll run if you want to fight. They'll run and double kick someone through the front windscreen. Like it's
The budget's in security. That's where the budget's going.
Yeah, well,
Far
it's,
out. That is insane.
but the fans
Great.
walk away and they walk away going, that was sick.
And they are so passionate
Yeah.
too. They all have a driver they follow.
Yep. Speedway's no
Passionate.
different. It's they want to win at all costs, and they're distraught. Their family's distraught. Their sponsors distraught if they don't win. I don't know. That's my
Brilliant.
Wow.
American
Cool.
motorsport. It's
Brilliant.
awesome. Did anyone else? We'll bring into this segment funny clips of the week.
Funny clips of the week.
So
Sound effects.
so this one was probably a month ago.
Oh, saw
Yeah, Asher might not have. Dusty didn't
This
see
is
it.
I was driving.
This
Oh,
is
yeah.
unfortunate.
So MotoGP, he's
Circuit of
He's
the
pushing it.
Americas.
He's pushing it.
and he's bin jobbed it.
no.
So the safety car has put the thing into the fence.
Oh,
So
What do you think about that?
I mean, comedy. I mean, it's hilarious, isn't it? So a good mate of mine, Carl Reindler, former Australian Formula 3 champion, drives the medical car in 15 Formula 1 races a year. So he's in one of the two Astons or the
that's
AMGs.
his like
at the
full-time
back.
job, basically.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. So I think he does. That poor guy. I think he does 12 or 13 races. Like he was at Monaco, and he went viral 2 years ago because they get a dedicated practice session for Bernd Mailander, the safety car driver, and whoever's in the medical car. They get a practice session to learn the track because when they go out following the Formula 1 field around on the start of a race. Like, if they don't drive those things bloody hard, they're going to get lapped.
Yep.
So they have to practice to drive these things. And he's in an Aston Martin DBX, like their SUV thing. And anyway, it was at Silverstone, and it was the final chicane complex before the start-finish straight. And he nailed a curb and two-wheeled the thing, supercar style, like
right.
properly. And someone filmed it from the inside. And he was on two wheels for ages, and the place went crazy. And it went on the internet and went viral.
Are you getting the shit for it? Or maybe not.
I don't want to give Carl's secrets away too much, but it's
They're on the limit. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, they're driving those things so hard
So
to
they
keep
don't
up.
get
even in
lapped.
MotoGP.
Yeah.
It's great. I
And
love it.
people probably know Carl from his big crash in Barbagallo.
Yeah, the fire
wasn't it?
incident.
That's what
Yeah, the
people
fire.
might remember him. He was like my coach in Ricardo's races when I started out learning how to drive. And I just remember that's the guy that was on fire on the grass that was rolling
Ricky
around.
Bobby.
Ricky Bobby style. That's
He's
him.
a great human
Going
being.
back,
Yeah.
maybe they need to upgrade the cars. Maybe they need to go like to a Formula 3 with two-seater Formula 3 for the pace car. Like,
That's a job for you then.
oh, seriously, like we do that for the bend. That's where you're going.
Good
there.
idea.
But I don't know if they're not fast enough, and you have to be on 10/10ths to sort of drive the thing. I don't know.
That's what's going to happen. Isn't it?
Maybe. What else we got?
If I'm BMW though, I love that. You don't want
Yeah.
to see your car shunted, but you probably push the PR line that your driver walked away, no problems.
Have you seen these?
100%.
Kawasaki has brought in a dog that you can ride.
What?
Yeah, seriously, dude.
Nah.
So, I'm serious.
No, you're joking,
No,
right?
this is legit. This is a concept vehicle that Kawasaki's just built.
Was this
And
posted on April 1?
No, I don't believe. Well, I could be
1 month
fooled.
ago, you could
But no,
be
I'm
fooled.
pretty sure. I was in Japan early in the year. I was talking to someone from Kawasaki, and
What?
it's seriously.
No, this is April Fool's.
I'm pretty
prank.
sure. I don't know.
Why has it got wheels and it doesn't have wheels?
This is a separate fucking. I don't know. I
Do
don't know.
they build a 1300cc engine that could be adapted for a Aussie racing car?
Imagine that in the paddock, getting around.
I don't know if some
New
of
one
this
mate
is,
category.
Yes. I feel like one of them's going to be in your Christmas list.
I hope so.
but I don't know what that is. I'm going to take that away. But like this here is a legitimate concept that they've built.
Is it though?
Can we'll come back
It
in the
looks
next
AI
episode and we'll
generated to
see
me.
if this is,
That looks
this
AI
is fake.
generated.
Maybe I've been fooled here.
I want the next clip.
Looks good though.
It
Would you
looks-
ride that?
It would be a bit of a flex. Yeah.
Have you seen the Tesla robots that have come out? Have you seen the Tesla?
I'm a bit scared
Yeah.
about robots, if I'm honest.
Pass.
I saw someone trying to get beaten up by a robot the other
So
day.
the AI can write press releases too well for my liking
Right.
already. So they're going to do me out of a gig at some point. So no, pass.
They're already starting to do that, aren't
They
they?
are,
Chat
they are.
GPT and
It helps us a lot, even with our racing.
It
Social
does.
media posts, I'll just say, refine my spelling errors, refine this, bang, bang, bang.
refinement. What about refine your driving?
I still to teach me in person. I'll just hire Asher Johnston for that in the Excel series.
That's good fun.
Oh,
How much money do we need for the engine
Yeah,
Crail?
Yeah,
let's,
a lot
let's
of-
talk budget and then
a
give him
lot
a
of
quote.
money.
Well, going back to American, we'll go back to what we're looking at. Cletus McFarlane.
Oh, my
you see-
favourite person.
Did you see
You got
the,
him
the
too.
shunt,
Yeah.
the Ute shunt that happened? Check
Yeah.
this out.
No. Oh.
So that's the Danger Ranger 9000
Yes.
at Bristol on dirt. Yeah.
I did not know this existed, this stuff.
So Cletus is a wild unit. He's got millions of dollars with his YouTube sort of campaign that he's doing. This dude lost it. He was leading. That's Cletus in the front. And the dude's got the big, oh no. And then someone's ridden over him.
Is this like a permanent dirt track?
No. So what they
is
do,
insane.
Bristol Motor
Motor
Speedway is a NASCAR track.
Wow.
And once a year they have it for about a month and they put dirt on top of it. So they used to race the NASCAR Cup Series there. I think they took it away this year. Sprint cars, late models, they do all sorts of stuff and funny things like this. So I just thought this would be funny to,
This is so
to bring
cool.
up.
I did not know this stuff existed. I had no idea.
America
this stuff
opens
like
your
this.
brains. They do figure eight bus racing.
Yeah.
Bus racing
I
on figure
love
eights. So
Cletus. I'm a loyal subscriber, massive fan of what he's built.
he's a raw dog. Just doesn't, he's just the way he wants to be, doesn't sugarcoat anything. And you look at what he's done with the ARCA racing. He's
Yeah.
done the live onboard, which we can
Well-
bring that back up, which we can't do, putting on onboards. But he puts his onboard, they put a live feed onto YouTube and it generates millions of views.
He
and
can genuinely drive though.
yeah.
He can genuinely drive. So he raced at Charlotte in the ARCA race on the weekend.
He
Ironically,
didn't do very well though.
Well, no, we actually did. He finished
Okay.
ninth.
took out half
qualified
a field?
11th, but he spun the tyres on a restart. But he'd never done a restart in a non-restrictor plate car.
Right.
So he restarted second and took out half the field. But anyway,
Had you seen this, Asher?
No,
Or this
I
is-
haven't- I haven't
Look at the
seen
wheel
this
work.
footage.
Yeah.
This is insane.
So they still got all the dashes.
They're
and
really
stuff.
pedaling it far out.
That's amazing.
But
so they do this with their ex-police Crown Victorias. They just buy them in bulk. And he bought an 8th mile circuit in Florida, which is called the Freedom Factory.
Yep.
And has brought it back to life. And it's
Right.
short track racing. But he puts on races in these Crown Vics that they put a roll cage in for all his YouTuber mates. But it's slowly evolved that, oh dear. He's had Tony Stewart rock up and race at one.
Haley Deegan.
Haley
They got all the
Deegan's
YouTube
run.
kind of characters.
He's best mates with Greg Biffle now.
Right.
And they all come and run these races. I just love them. They have an awesome time. They sell
Look at the
them out.
radiator. Look at that thing. It's barely
Well,
hanging on.
It's not the front
But
of your
there's too
Excel,
many
does it?
rules.
Yeah, I know.
There's too many rules in Australia. We can't do this. Like it's, I don't know. I don't know how they get away with it.
What would you do it with in Australia? So he uses the old Rangers over there and Crown Victoria's ex-cop cars. What would you do it in Australia?
See, that's the issue. Like, we don't have a high-powered kind of V8 cheap wrecking yard. Pick it up for $1,000 and go
because
racing.
you can't go to a police auction and buy a whole bunch of Kia Picantos or whatever they use.
Well, they're too
You'd
many
have, you'd have
matrix.
to do it in Falcons and Commodores, wouldn't you? 'Cause
Yeah,
there's not
sure.
enough.
Well,
of
we're
it.
doing that. We're coming up the Vaughan's Paddock Bash.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So we've got
we
that.
have an annual panic bash.
He's
up
got
at
like
Brad's
100
house.
acres, massive track out there, and we did it last year, and It was like the highlight of the year,
But
wasn't it?
the car that won was the little low-powered front-wheel drive
Hey,
things.
I should have won that, and I'm putting a protest back in for that. No, we got undercut in the pits or something. It was a whole debacle. But you have to do it. You have to do it on a private track. But this is done on a fully fledged NASCAR circuit.
They sold like
Look at the
15,000
stadium.
tickets to
It's
it.
crazy. It's bringing the love back to a bit of fun, and they got full live timing up the top.
Is this like
It's
a
awesome.
YouTube event? Is that what it is?
Yeah, he streams and does a pay-per-view.
Probably actually like sanctioning it to a proper pay-per-view
Yeah,
stuff.
he
now.
runs a pay-per-view
He's just an amazing job at
pay-per-view
it.
channel, Freedom
Amazing.
Plus. I'm a big Cletus fan.
Just
I love
insane.
it.
So what's this one we got here, Dusty?
Oh, this one's good. This is a classic. This is the 12-hour back in the day. You
This is
remember
one of my
one?
seminal motorsport moments.
Were you here?
2010 Bathurst
Were you
12
there?
Can you
hour.
explain this a
I
bit
was
more?
calling it. Yeah.
Put up the audio. Look at this. It's like last night.
Oh, hello.
Oh,
It's
this,
like Adelaide
this
last
actually
night.
happened to my house. It took out the clothesline.
The tree
It's
fell
literally-
down.
Are you commentating, Richard?
That's not him.
That's not me. I don't know who's calling this.
Sleuth.
This is
Aaron
what Adelaide
Noonan.
was like last night. This is
So I was calling this for the live stream, and
That's Aaron.
that's Noons.
Yeah.
I was calling this for the live stream as it happened, and it was
Is this 6 hour?
12 hour.
12 hour.
This is before it went GT cars. This was the last year before it went GT cars.
Right.
So horrifically wet all day. And fortunately, we were under
Look who it is.
The old V8 Super Ute racer.
Fortunately, we were under safety car, and
They're laughing about it.
yeah, and we cut to this shot of the tree that had fallen across.
Is that a Ute?
No.
Yeah, it was.
That's a
yeah,
Ute.
yeah, they were allowed to run. It's a production
right.
car race.
Okay. Yep.
This was great. So they were behind the safety car at the time, and the tree had fallen down. So it's the exit of the elbow running down.
Yeah.
They're fortunate because it's basically blind, and I think it was
You're about to get on the pout and you're about to shoot out of there.
yeah.
There's a
I
tree.
think it was Nick Filippetto behind the wheel of that Alpha, and he was the only guy that got stuck. So he got parked there.
Right.
The rest of the field was heading up Mountain Straight behind the safety car. And
Oh, sorry. So it was a safety
They
car.
were under safety. Fortunately, because
So
it could
it's
have
like
been much.
Bowser and Mario.
It could have
You
been
know?
much. Yeah,
Wow.
It could have been much worse. The whole field stopped at Skyline and
at
were
this,
parked
look at
up.
this.
Yeah, there they were.
That's
incredible.
crazy.
Yeah.
See, this
There
is, I love
there was a VE
Bathurst.
Commodore
Like,
wagon that was in there.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is some crazy cars. The Alphas. Look at this.
This is mid race.
firewood.
This
Firewood.
is mid race.
Yeah.
About 1 o'clock
How long
in the
did this take
afternoon.
to clean up?
35, 40 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Bathurst SES. Outstanding.
That's crazy. Armour All.
How
We need to
about
get
that
back.
for-
We need to get Armour
I
All
can't
back into the
believe
sport.
that was the 12-hour. I cannot believe that
Yeah.
like, those cars that were racing at the 12
Yeah.
That was like
So
a
there was no
6-hour race.
6 hour?
Yeah.
Not at that time.
Right.
No.
So
6 hour came back in
GTs
16.
merged into that, and then 6 hours. Okay, interesting.
Wow.
We're gonna do the 6 hour.
It was a great
What do you
event.
reckon?
Great
Yeah,
event.
do it.
Yeah. Have you ever done it before?
I haven't done the 6 hour. We just did the supports there.
And the thing is, though, if you want to enter one of the cheaper classes, that's also the hardest class to win. Like in our class, like we had like GR Cup cars and whatnot, which are like 3 seconds quicker. Like you've got to just get lucky.
What class were you racing?
D class. The RX-8 was in D class. But it's the hardest class as well because there's the most amount of cars
Yeah.
in that class as well because you get your grassroots races.
Because really, there's only 5 cars outright. Is that?
There's a certain cars have to be obviously a certain height with their roof and whatnot in X class. That's why the BMWs are so popular.
It's only BMWs in that class?
Because
Yeah.
really that's the only car you can run in it.
Was it just only car that's fast, or
No,
is there?
there's also a certain there are certain cars.
What do you mean
have
by
to
the roof
use.
height? Can you explain that?
Like
a
I
little
think
bit
with
more?
like the Audis, there's something like the Audi S3s and whatnot. Like the roof height isn't like tall enough for
Why
the
do they
roll
have a
cage
roof
to-
height
Nah,
size?
they're
What
just
regulations?
not. The BMW is
Oh,
just.
you mean it's just not fast?
They're just not
the
too. The BMW is just too good. Brody
Yep.
Kostecki's building an Alpha Julia.
I've seen people that
Is this a breaking news that we're not allowed to break?
It has
Okay.
been reported.
Yep.
That will hopefully run next year.
in X class.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I heard of someone else that was doing that in Queensland and they stopped doing it. But it'd be nice to see a different car up there. There's like a HSV VF GTS that was in it. But
Yeah,
like,
Brock
still
Giblin
not-
unfortunately shunted at the top of the
yeah,
hill.
still not quick enough.
It's a great race though. It's my favourite. I
Well, you're a
love
little bit biased.
I love
Richard.
the 12 hour. I love the 12 hour, but the 6 hour is probably my favourite.
Do you
weekend.
commentate on both?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But one thing though this year that changed a lot was the tyres. There's so many tyre failures.
Yep.
It was non
On the 6 hour?
6 hour. All the
Yep.
BMWs tyre failures.
Do they have a tyre? Like, is there a controlled tyre?
Yeah.
For, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
For,
good tyre. They went Hankook this year. Good
for the
tyre.
whole category.
Yeah. Yeah,
is
every
not
car.
the same tyre for each car.
No, different size,
Yeah, yeah,
same
yeah,
compound
yeah.
across the field. But the irony is that there were Ford Mustangs that had tyre failures, and then there was a Ford Mustang that did the entire race on one set of tyres. Same
How you
model
set the car up, how you drive
correct.
it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Don't take that element out of the
No,
series.
absolutely,
And that's
I
what
agree.
No, it's
people
great.
get scared
I
to
agree.
sort of.
If you want to take the mickey and be 2 seconds a lap faster, but risk having a right front fail at Skyline,
Go for gold.
go your hardest.
Yeah.
That's
Risk it to get the
in
biscuit.
your hands. Take
Risk
it.
it to get the biscuit.
Exactly right.
There's a big Cookie Monster here.
That's right.
You tell us a story on
Yeah,
this.
why is the Cookie Monster here?
The Cookie Monster. So, the Cookie Monster here because that's how I got out of the house this evening. So my my 3-year-old daughter has custody of him at the moment. He's actually mine, and the story is this goes back to XL days. Is ERA, XL Racing Australia. So Michael Clementi, who you might know from TCR fame more recently. We used to have some good ding-dong battles, and we were sort of teammates within XL Racing Australia back in 2018, 2019. And the man behind ERA, his daughter loved Cookie Monster, and Michael had a Cookie Monster in his car, and he got famous because he got on television at Winton when we did the supercars. And there's this whole story around ERA and this Cookie Monster. And when I won the Nationals in 2019, Dave gave me that Cookie Monster with a little Nationals #1 badge on it.
Yeah.
So he's been sitting on like in my little trophy area for.
She's claimed it.
Yeah, and then she's come along, and so now, but I get to take him to work every day, and if I forget, I get in trouble. He had to come tonight and get on
National
the podcast.
TV.
Clemente had one in his car as well.
He had it
Clemente,
strapped to the front, like the.
So you can zip tie that on the back of the roll cage.
I've got a sticker in the car that's a little Cookie Monster sticker. With,
You
with
need to
Sophie
get that on the. Well, I had a panda bear.
I don't
like
think-
a size like this on a panda bear zip tied to the back of my roll cage for the Aussie car.
Did you?
Yeah, it was a friend Matt.
We should
Panda.
run it the
Yeah.
next
You,
round.
you want to run it next?
Yeah,
round?
I think we should.
that's the Peter Brock polarizer thing. Peter Brock.
My dad had one of
Spiritual-
those.
That's the-
My dad
that's
had
the
one of those.
spiritual
Really?
He
awakening.
had one, and we sold it for like 10 grand on eBay.
Love a Polaroid.
Mate, what it'd be worth now.
There was nothing. Was there anything in it? What's your thoughts on that? Was it just?
Look,
Is it quantum physics? Is it something to do with aligning the atoms in a certain frequency?
Yeah, it was.
Is that,
Yeah. Correct.
So-
I was an enormous Peter Brock fan
Right.
growing up, so the man could do no wrong in my
Right.
eyes. I love the polarizer. I'm here for polarizer.
But hang on, is there any
and-
merit? You can say it like.
Oh no! Of course there wasn't.
No,
it was
it's
all
a- it's a-
complete hokum.
yeah,
but who
okay.
cares?
Yep, yep.
What a funny weird thing to do.
Well, Vettel's gone on that
Probably
list now. No, in
but
terms of.
maybe this could be.
That's the key to winning.
Maybe this is what we need
Yes.
to finally have some
Look,
bloody
he's
luck.
smiling. Look at him go.
Soph would absolutely love it if he was in the race car.
I think at the next round, I
Do
don't
it.
care what Motorsport Australia say.
We'll strap him in.
This is
Look at
going
what
in our
Cletus
race.
does. If Cletus can do that, we can zip tie a little.
Not to
Nah.
block your sponsors.
Nah,
there.
that's all good.
There we go.
Good fun. I want to get your take, Krause, on something that you may know because you're a big Wings and Slicks character. Alonso, right? What do you think with this testing crash?
2016
Right.
Spa.
I don't know. I'll give you
Barcelona.
some context. So,
Oh, this
He-
is in the McLaren with the GP2 engine.
So, I don't know why it's in Spaniard sort of. Yeah, let's change this somehow. I don't know how.
So context is he crashed in a test session,
Yeah.
2016 Barcelona, it was turn 3 on the right hand side. There was no footage of it.
no.
He had to go to hospital because he had some sort of injury.
And they didn't disclose it. The team was very vague on the way
Yep.
the crash happened, what his injuries were, and the outcome of it. Apparently, so this was 2016.
2016.
So apparently, this was the start of the electrical kind of
Hybrid era.
era, right? Apparently, when he had a crash, he electrocuted himself.
Oh,
and there
yeah,
was a
okay.
So have you heard
Interesting.
about this one?
No, I haven't.
So
I knew,
I was-
I've heard about the crash. I wasn't aware of the potential for there to have been
Electrocution. So, yeah, they go back on heart issues or somehow medical documents got released or something. And I'm just trying to skip through. Because that's where you see those marshals that have the gloves.
Yeah,
right?
well, they're not allowed to touch the car until it's properly discharged.
So there's some merit. I'll send you this and we can delve into it maybe
Wow.
later on. But Yeah, it's definitely
It's a theory that will never be explained.
Well, Alonso, he always keeps his cards close to his chest, and yeah, there you go. So
Yeah, okay.
apparently he got electrocuted. That's why he was unconscious or something like that.
It was never confirmed. They never publicly announced it.
It's
There were
such
so
a-
many details that were.
Formula One's.
It's such a challenging thing that our industry has to adapt with now. It's part and parcel of it. We're going to have cars with hybrid
Do you
systems
like
in
it?
No.
No,
No.
no, I don't like it either. Like I love a raw. That's why the V8 Super it's now a success from the diesels because they've got flames, they've got good sound, they're faster.
It's the core to motorsports being is the visceral nature of it, is standing by the fence and having your head blown off by how loud they are and the feeling as they go past and everything around it.
we can't rob that last bit that we've got
Yeah.
away from the fans.
Yep, correct. 100%. And I will remember for my entire life rocking up in Melbourne in 2014, the first year of the hybrid era Formula One cars and going, oh, they've killed it. They've killed Formula
Everyone
One.
thought that.
They've taken away Formula One's unique selling point, which is the fact they were incredible and they were visceral. And all of a sudden they became, like me, fat and slow and they didn't sound particularly good. So
Your backfires aren't good, are they?
no, they're not. They're terrible. And I'm not particularly hybrid either, but they're
Milwaukee jacket or something.
yeah, they've got better and they are still awesome to watch
Yeah.
at speed, but they still sound terrible.
Yes, compared to what
Compared
we
to
have
what we've
had.
had, yeah.
The decisions that get made from the hierarchy that make those core decisions silly to themselves.
You got to wonder if Liberty owned Formula One when they made the decision to go to the 1.6 turbo hybrid era, I don't know if it would have happened because what they've come in and gone, no, that'd be terrible for the show. You're taking away such an element of the show that they're all about. No, we're not doing that. We're staying with the V8s.
It's the fight for manufacture relevance and stuff like that they fall into. And sometimes it's you don't know what you don't know. And
But I reckon if you're a manufacturer and there's a billion eyeballs watching your sport, I don't think it matters a huge amount about
No
what your
way
engine
in the
is.
world.
Because you're
Look
still
at
going to sell
NASCAR.
cars regardless.
NASCAR's a prime example to this. Toyota. It's nothing like a Toyota. But yeah, it flames, it sounds good, they race well, and they've got a Toyota badge on it.
Oh,
That's all it needs.
They're coming into supercars next year.
Yep.
Yep.
So you don't need exact market relevance to sell on Monday.
No. Yep.
And then that's ship sailed. There's people that love to throw those comments around. Oh, they're nothing what a car on the road. No race car is what a car on the road is.
No.
So stop it. Just stop saying that because you sound silly, those people in the comments. Just
All right. Well, I'll get this up and have a suss.
so
Anyway.
questions of the week.
Did you get any questions?
No, we got a few.
I hope
Some
I
are
did.
PG, some are
One from Jai, you probably met Jai in Tassie, young kid. I'm
Jai.
passionate about
Yes,
commentary.
Oh,
and
yeah,
whatnot.
I met him at the 6 hour. Yeah.
He
Good luck.
asks, Asher, still don't understand, how do you fit in an Aussie racing car? So, and it actually is.
They're actually quite roomy inside. I don't have a drama. I'm actually pretty good. I've taken all the foam and everything out of the bottom of my seat, so I'm as low as I can be. That's my main drama is getting my head out of the bar work in the roof. But we made some aftermarket seat mounts that get me a bit lower in the car, so my head's not smashing into all the.
Do they come with the aftermarket pistons as well? No. But one thing,
They hopefully
how you
will.
fit in the Aussie car, how do you fit with Nolte sitting next to you?
Well,
So very proud of that stitch up.
When I unloaded the car on Monday last week or whatever, I videoed it and sent him when I was rolling the car down. And sent him. He's like, I'm going to kill him next time I see him.
still in there too. Are we leaving it in there?
Yes. So
Maybe he's the bad luck.
We're gonna do a different theme, I think, for
Okay.
next round.
He's holding something different.
Everyone in Supercars broadcast knew that was happening, except Matt Nolte. So
He got stitched up.
he got
hardcore.
absolutely stitched up, which was one of the peak moments of my year so far. It was great.
I've got one for you, but one more from Ben Gallia. Do you miss XLs?
I do.
There's a hesitation there.
He's still
Asher.
got.
I've still got
He's
mine.
still got his
I'll never
XL.
sell mine. It's like my firstborn.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, I don't see me driving it anytime soon.
I guess when you've won something and you've done it, it's hard to. I've sort of got that thing with Aussie Cars. We done well, and you want a different challenge sometimes, and I don't know. I still love the Aussie Cars. I love to.
You'll notice, Dusty, that every XL I've driven has not been owned by Asher.
Yeah,
I've
that's
never
very
driven that car.
Sentimental.
I've
It's a
only
very
ever
special
drawn.
car.
I've only ever driven Andrew Young's cars or Wayne Panowich's cars.
And I'm glad you don't
Because
sell it because that car would have just got ridden off by some teenager who would buy it and try and.
I don't
win
think
the
anyone's
championship.
driven that car but me,
No.
actually.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. You did have a car before though,
Yeah.
which did have a rollover.
It did.
and that car was sentimental. But that lives on in the new car as well with parts and bits and whatnot.
Not many got transferred over.
Yeah. The
It's-
M&M car, it was a cool car.
It was a cool car.
It was such a good livery, that car. Well, I'll move on. This is from Northline Media for you. What is it like going from event organising and commentary role to a team owner? What is that like?
good question. I really like it, as we touched on at the start, but I think I'm using the elements and experience that I've built up from an event management point of view and the PR and comms point of view, and even the broadcast point of view. And we ran in-car cameras in our cars at Simmons Plains, and we were the only Aussies to do it, and that came about through my relationship with Supercar TV. So it's putting all of the various bits and pieces I've learned over the journey into making our race team work maybe better than everyone else's. Or if we can't win races, we want to be the best looking and we want to be the best promoted and sell the dream better than anyone so we can afford to go and do it. And that's what I've been trying to use to leverage all the various contacts and people I've made. But
Well, you've got the best rapper and the best commentator and,
it's very kind.
media marketing.
His roles are crossing over now because he actually ran the radio for me on Sunday, and my warm-up lap was almost fully commentated, which was fantastic.
I did give it the big welcome to the
You
bend
did.
this morning, driver of car 8. The wind is from the north and it's 5 degrees. So brake temperature, please.
Well, you left a nice surprise for us on one of the races where it was oil all over down to the hairpin. I thought we were racing
You send
Speedway
your
again.
complaints to Jay Heinrich.
Yes.
Oh, wow, that was hectic. I couldn't believe that. But anyway,
I've got
questions
two
we got?
more from Four Wheel Fields. Probably for both of you guys. Who are your top 5 SA motorsport legends?
Ooh, wow.
I mean,
That's a good question.
You guys can use a 5 and combine it, but I'll let you go first.
So, like history.
Yeah, like people like from SA who have built something here.
I would say Mark Paul would be in my top 5. Underrated supercar driver. I
remember the name, yeah.
International,
Yeah.
resume. I'd say he'd be one for me.
Kim Benithan, the great former promoter of Rowley Park Speedway, which it was before my time, but was also heavily involved in bringing the Grand Prix to this part of the world. So from a promoter marketing point of view, Vern Schupan.
That was going to be
Vern.
one.
Vern is one of the most criminally underrated Australian success stories in all of our sports history. But this is a bloke that won the Indy 500 Rookie of the Year, won the Le Mans 24 Hours, a factory Porsche driver, raced Formula One. Like this guy did
From
it.
South Australia.
Yeah, he's from Whyalla originally.
That's great.
Still lives here.
When we did delivery on the IndyCar that I was talking about earlier, we did a bit of, because I knew he was a big name, but I hadn't really looked into it. And when we were driving back to the shop, we sort of, Jacko did some Googling, and some of the names, like there was a Formula One race, I think he finished 5th, but some of the names, which is amazing in itself, but in that race, like Mario Andretti and like Gilles Villeneuve and all these, it's amazing the people that he's
From
racing
Whyalla,
against.
Wow.
You got anyone, Matty?
Clem Smith, I think, for
Okay.
what he did for the
That's a good
foundation of the sport, and Mal, how it came along, and his history lives on with all his cars and whatnot. Even, honestly, this might be, for me, even the Shahins, having the bend is a blessing.
Yeah.
What a difference it's made for us in motorsport. We just had Mal back in the day. AIR didn't exist.
Yep.
Really?
No, AIR was there.
but like from
in
my
terms of
time, it hasn't
circuit
been
racing,
used.
No.
You know?
No,
I've
good
never
call.
raced
Yep.
there in all my years either.
Yep.
Yeah. What a difference it's made.
Probably Bill Wigsell for my side. Like Speedway has been a big part, and he was the top end of town for a number of years. And I guess Speedway was sort of bigger back in that era, like you touched on with Rowley Park and things like that. Like You probably do you know much about Rowley Park? Does it? Rowley Park was in the city, just out of the city, and it was that racing every week on a Friday, and it was like the football. People used to go to the football. Now they used to go to the speedway. It used to be packed to the rafters. So
Amazing.
yeah, we've lost that a little bit with speedway, but I reckon he would be sort of the South Australian on my radar. So.
I've got one more for you, Krause, from Brock Stinson, a GR Cup driver. Top 5 races in Australia, e.g. from top to bottom, supercar, 6 hour, 12 hour. What's your favourite?
Oh,
Like from
just what's my favourite
top
races?
5 favourite, but what is your favourite race in Australia?
Oh, Bathurst 12 hour.
Which one? Oh, you mean just
Just in general,
is it
or
events,
like specific
events, is that what you're
races.
saying?
Yeah.
I could give you a specific
okay.
12 hour as well if you wanted. But no, the 12 hour, the 12 hour is my favourite car race in the world.
In the world?
Yeah.
Indy?
Yeah, I love Indy, but the 12 hour is special because I've had a role, a small role, but I've had a role in its evolution over the journey, and I've called every single one of them since it came back in 2007, and we saw the tree over the track in 10, and then through the GT era, I took over the PR for the event in 2011.
Liquid Molly?
Yep. So it was Armour All in 2011, and then Liquid Molly started in 13. I took over in 2011, which was a terrible time to take over because we went from having 50 cars to having 21 and like 4 GT cars in the race. And it took some time for that thing to build. But to see the evolution of that race over the journey and be part of that's been really, really special. And I get a little buzz out of when a GT driver from around the world comes and races with us and goes, oh, you're that guy from the 12 hour that's called all the 12. I've watched you. That's really special to me. So 12 hour number 1, Adelaide 500 number 2 / Adelaide Grand Finale, because that event in particular is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and lucky to work in motorsport full time. It simply wouldn't have happened without the Grand Prix and the 500 before it, and the 500 after it. I'm trying not to waste time here too much. I deeply love the 6 hour, as I've touched on. I'd have to put the 1000 in there because I still can't quite believe I get to work at it.
Yeah.
Because it's such an iconic part. It was the race that I would watch from day dot.
Yeah, as a kid.
With Dad.
Wake up in the morning.
Yeah, get up at 6 a.m. You'd record it on VCR and push pause to take the ads out and things like that. And that's such a fundamental part of it. And a fifth one, I wouldn't say an event per se, but I would say Malala. I'd say Malala because...
Are you keen for Homecoming?
Oh, so keen.
Yeah.
That's going to be so good.
So good.
But I would say that because the sort of core memories of my childhood are going out there and watching Brock in 97 when he retired. But then that was the racetrack that allowed me to start working. So it allowed me the opportunity to go out and be the South Australian guy reporting for Motorsport News, and then build the radio show that we did, and then the TV show which you dropped on us earlier. So Malala for me is the home. Is if someone says what's your home racetrack, it's Malala.
Yeah,
I love that place. I had
so much history in Malala.
Malala's the reason why I've even got doing Motorsport Media too. It's
my first ever circuit racing track day was at Malala.
And it's such an underrated racetrack as well.
Yeah.
Great to drive, challenging, good racetrack. So
it's interesting how some of these circuits have gone by the wayside, if you want to say, like the Wintons and Morgan
it's a
Parks.
survivor, Malala.
Yeah,
it's
I don't know.
It's a survivor, and it's had a quiet period, but now with
Hopefully
the super
the band-
trucks a couple of weeks ago were huge.
Big crowd.
Yeah, and now with Homecoming with Trans Am, and it'll be under lights, and I think there'll be a great crowd. And yeah, it's sort of week before the supercars as well, which makes all the sense in the world.
Is it the supercar round at the Bend or the Super Adelaide 500?
No, the 500.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
Yeah.
We need some more history events, like your Bathurst, sort of camp by the circuit.
Yeah.
Bring some soul back into
Malala is asking for a cool historic event. The Sporting Car Club do a good one over the Anzac long weekend, which is great. But I think it could if there's a racetrack in Australia that could be our Goodwood and go full heritage.
It's not that far.
No,
It's down the road.
It's half an hour from the Adelaide CBD or 45 minutes. Like that is nothing. You could do it like what the Bend has done with the Classic, right? have your bull rides, have a concert, and bring that farmer
really cool.
event into there, cross promote it, and I reckon they're onto something.
100%.
I reckon Adam and the Ben team are they're getting going. Once they spend a little bit more money, clean it up a little bit more, I reckon it's onto something there.
Do you know what I reckon would work out at Mallala as well?
Ute racing.
I reckon a speedway would work really well out there.
You know, there is whispers about that.
I reckon that is the perfect location.
There is a whisper that is going to
We're
look
getting
at
Adam
happening.
Brook on. We're going to convince him.
Well, you reckon you get Adam? You can't,
I think
won't
Adam's
shut up.
probably convinced. I think it's Dr. Sam you probably need to, because he'll be the one that stumps up for it. But it would be the perfect location
we're
for a
lacking
sprint car track.
speedway in this state. You know, Murray Bridge is one thing, but we need something a bit
It's a shame
closer.
Bordertown's 3 hours down the road.
Yeah.
Best track
What a-
in the
what a cool-
country.
What a cool place
Yeah.
that looks like.
Best track. I want to race there. Looking forward to it. It's doing something there. Have you been past Bordertown?
Yeah.
The banking's like
Yeah, it's
NASCAR.
amazing.
It's an
Crazy.
amazing track.
Aussie cars.
Good that it's come
Oh,
back.
now you're talking.
They got the legend cars in Queensland.
Yeah.
Up there.
All
But,
right.
all right.
Last topic.
Last segment.
Last
so
segment.
motorsport moral dilemmas. So this is one for you again, Richard, team owner. Team owners averse fair competition. Dilemma: a team instructs one driver to let their teammate pass and maximize points for the championship. Should the driver comply? Do you believe that is a fair way to go about racing?
Yes, with the asterisk being as long as the context of the season supports it. So if both of your drivers are still in contention for the World Championship, and I'm looking at you, McLaren, I don't think you should have team orders. Let them race right to the end.
Well, they have gone out and said that lately.
Yeah, but if we get to 6 races to go in the World Championship, and let's say Oscar's in second and Lando's leading, and they go, and there's only 20 points between them, and they go, righto, Oscar, time to support it. I don't agree with it in that scenario, but there is a time and the place.
But where is the time and the place? Because they fucked up last year.
Correct.
Because if they
managed
played
it
that
so poorly, yeah, that's the judgment call you have to make.
Yep.
It's hard, but it's a grey area.
The team does ultimately have to come first.
Is that due to a financial thing?
Well, I just think for the sake of the business, and especially in Formula One, like you're talking
With the way they reward the
$250 million
financial
a year and 1,000 employees, and there's so much more on the line than the 2 blokes driving the race cars.
Yep.
But time
So
and
that's
place.
Formula One.
The
How
optics
about
of
Aussie Racing Cars?
Well, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like, righto, Asher's in front. He's about to win his first Aussie car race, but if Jack beats him, he wins the championship.
What would you do?
Oh, geez, Ash. No, it's all you, mate. Off you go.
I would have no problem moving over.
No, you're right. You
No
probably
problem.
wouldn't, but you're one of the rare ones. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But my if it came to
See,
the punch,
Max would not move over.
no, of course he wouldn't.
He wouldn't move over if the teammate
But
would win the championship.
His name isn't on the team though. That's where I'd move over for Jacko. Because
Yeah, that's a
the
good
bigger
call.
picture.
Yeah.
I like to look forward to the bigger picture, and for us, that would be winning the
Yeah,
It would be.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
would be.
Max
But-
does not care.
But yeah, I've also got faith that if it came down to these two racing, they'd do it fairly. But
Whereas Max does.
I just want to see them race hard and fair. I don't care who you are. Just don't take somebody out. But you're right, Max probably wouldn't.
He's just raw.
Yeah.
He just from the get go. So that's a good one. All right, one for you, Asher, or someone else. Driver, giving up your own career for your child's motorsport if they showed interest in the sport.
Yep.
Ooh.
No dramas.
Okay.
Yep. If Soph wants to go racing, I 100%. Yep.
She'd be in a race suit, a blue race suit.
It's
Sponsorship from the Cookie Monster.
she'd be in a pink and yellow race suit in a
Yeah.
heartbeat. And we actually went out to Adelaide dirt karts
Okay.
a few weeks ago with Ben and Kelly at BRK,
Yeah.
and their daughter races, and Soph thought it was it in a bit. So
That's dangerous for your wallet, isn't it?
oh look, if that's what she wants to do, then that's fine. I don't
Dirt
have a problem
karts
with
is probably a good way to go for a junior
Yeah.
way of going about racing.
I just think it's a good family atmosphere, and
Yep.
you know, it seems like sprint karting was when I was doing it. Sprint
Okay.
karting now seems out of control.
Yep.
But the dirt karting has a similar feel to what I remember karting being, and you know, I just wanted to be around a team environment, and you know, you just learn so much from motorsport with the people in it and the emotions you go through and how you deal with that. And then how you use that in life, I think, is
Develop
there's
skills
so many
that-
skills.
Yeah, it's not just driving a car.
Yeah, so
or
if she
car.
wants to do it, that's fine. If she doesn't, if she wants to play netball, if she wants to play tennis, I don't care.
Golf.
That'd be good. then she can pay for us to get racing.
Exactly, yes. But Sophie Johnston has been signed to a long-term
Okay.
first right options contract to Johnston Crail Racing Enterprises. So.
Even better. She's showing interest too. I feel like she's at the track all the time.
There's a lot more girls.
She hasn't got much of a choice, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's
but
so true.
There's a lot more girls in motorsport, especially in karting and stuff like that as well. So, team owner, hiring drivers for money over talent.
That's a tough one. That's such a tough one.
It's a tricky one, isn't it?
I'd say this.
A struggling team.
You can't hire a driver if your race team's gone out of business.
It's true.
So if the way to keep the business going is to hire a driver who brings budget, no problems.
What happens if it isn't and you just want to pad your own pocket? Because you're running a business.
Well, that's the wrong reason for doing it. And I'd be pretty confident that
most people,
especially in Australia motorsport, are doing it for the reason that they're passionate about it. Because not many of them are making money out of it.
No, you're right.
Not big money.
Even though people think they are.
Correct.
They're hemorrhaging.
They're putting cash in or they're making a wage, but they're not making millions of dollars. We're in a different scenario because we're not doing this to build an empire yet. We get
when you move into the youth category.
It's not a case of us pulling Ash out of a car to put a pay driver in.
Understood. Yeah.
But if someone came to us with budget and said, we want to drive with you, would I find another car to facilitate that? Absolutely.
Fair enough.
Because that can then support the rest of the business building and help Jack and help and Ash and fund their racing. So,
understood.
Sure. But if your race team can't operate, if it's dead. So if a pay driver means that you can continue operating, then absolutely.
Interesting take.
I think we'll choose one more. I want to choose one more. I think the reputation one.
Let me think about this. That's a good one. Yeah, like so driver reputation versus result. Rather be known as the dirtiest driver on the grid with the most wins or the cleanest racer who never got the title. Look, dirty can be taken different way. It's bloody hard.
It's a rough one.
Because you don't really want to be that dude that just takes people out. But
then we have
got rules in place.
Then you're remembered.
It's not NASCAR where, we're talking Australia here, you actually can't win the title if you are taking people out. So in NASCAR, different story because you probably could, you got the people that are out there that are dirty and they get booed. They get booed or they get given back what they get. They give to other people. So I think it shakes out in even over there, but it's just, and we are seeing that a little bit more with supercars and the way Beardo's sort of letting the reins, letting the racing happen a little bit more. And we're seeing that on track. We're getting great racing in supercars now. And I don't class it as dirty. I just class it a little bit more elbows out racing. And we needed that because it was going by the wayside. Someone's got in there and whether it's Beardo, whether it's the new tyre rule, whether it's the new aero, it's creating good racing and it's great. So I don't know. What would you reckon?
I think you can fall in the middle. If there's only two options there, I think you've got to go, if you're a race driver, you've got to go with the wins, don't you? If they're the only two options.
Yep.
But I like to think that I've fallen in the middle of those two where you can have both. So like stats and that are I like a good stat and I like keeping track of my own stats and how that was my project over COVID when we had nothing
driver
to do.
database or something.
I actually went through all the NatSoft results and worked out all my Excel stuff.
Okay.
But I think you can achieve both.
One more. So and then we'll end it. So the media trap, the whole thing with Penske and McLaughlin came out and sort of defended the team as you would when they're paying your bill. The Penske thing, it's huge. With their name has been dragged through the mud, and they own the series, they own the track, they own the team. It gets very hard, and that's for me. That's bloody hard.
Yeah,
as a driver.
So I've experienced this in my world as PR operator, and then I've experienced it from the other side, working in the media as a journo, commentator, whatever. There's no winning in these scenarios. No. That's the bottom line. Ultimately, everyone's going to lose because the sport ends up being dragged through the mud, looks bad. The team ends up looking bad regardless. The worst thing is, so would you rather lie to the media to protect your team's secrets? That's fine until people find out that you've been telling them porcupines. And then it's worse. So
Double back.
correct.
Yeah.
So the Penske scenario is that they got caught, they stuck their hand up, he sacked 3 of their most senior championship-winning elite management representatives, Cindric and
all the rest
Ron
of them,
Rosowski and everyone involved. And they ripped the Band-Aid off straight away, and there were repercussions. But if they tried to bury it, it would have been worse because it would have come out anyway because the sport is too small. People would know. Anytime there's been cheating or something dodgy going on in supercar land, running a supercar at Woomera on a runway or whatever it might be, you're going to get found out.
Yeah.
So the best pathway is rip the Band-Aid off, go, we bug it up.
I think he tried to dodge it in the press conference to some degree with, talking about Dallara parts and sort of talking about we're here for the troops and
he gave reasoning.
Yeah,
he
I don't
gave
know.
reasoning. Roger Penske's never the most what's the right word? Effusive sort of speaker in interviews anyway. He doesn't generally say an enormous amount.
Yep.
And that's just his style.
Trump style sort of.
Yeah, but
maybe.
without any of the bluster and the hyperbole and all the rubbish that goes on with that. But but I think
Because did he try to blame Dallara?
he
what
said
was
that
where I
we
got-
didn't like the quality of the parts that came from Dallara, so the team just wanted to make them look nice.
Right.
And on the surface, I believe that because Penske is always the
Quality.
best presented racing team on the planet. And they would have looked at a dodgy piece of carbon and went, oh, that's not good.
Clean
We're
it
going to
up.
make it pretty.
Yep.
And if that means smoothing out a join, that's what they're going to do. And ultimately, that's what's bit them in the arse and got them excluded because you can't do that. So I believe them when they say they did it to chase aesthetics and that it wasn't to find performance.
Ooh.
I believe that, but I still think it was stupid to do it because the regulations said you couldn't do it. And they
Why
got
would
Yeah.
you do it if it wasn't performance?
Well,
No, let's think about that for a second.
I-
Because if it looked ugly, I'd do it if it was performance.
yeah,
So-
but if it doesn't add performance and it looks pretty, you're going to do it because presentation is so much a big
Yeah,
part
but
of the
who's
sport.
looking at the rear of the
Roger
arsehole?
Penske is.
Yeah.
What about the A-arm story?
Which
Did you
one's
have
this
that?
one?
So they had a crash. I don't know exactly when this was, in the 2000s somewhere. Penske have chrome A-arms, and they only had black spare ones.
Yeah.
Did you tell me this story?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
They only had black spare ones, so the team put a corner on a car, which was so I had 3 chrome corners and a black corner. And Roger said, change all the rest of them. They're
Yes.
all chrome or none of them are chrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the level
I
that he's
understand.
operating.
You got one silver wheel on the Aussie car, one black wheel. It doesn't look good. But
That's a lot of work. A lot of A-arm changes.
It is.
But that is
that is a pivotal part you look at.
Yeah.
You're not looking at a silicon slight
Yeah,
bead.
but the Penske way is
I
the attention
know.
to detail.
But not all cars were like that. Why weren't all the cars like that? If there's attention to detail.
Well, because he doesn't own them all. He only owns his team.
True.
So
But then, okay, so I understand. What about the Indy 500 winning car that was on the museum?
Yeah,
and
that's-
then
that's contentious,
do you
isn't
think they should take that winning and should they rewrite the history books?
no,
That's above my pay
I don't
grade,
think.
though.
I don't think you should change a result after the fact.
Fair enough.
Not 12 months after the fact.
Cheating's a part of motorsport, and it has been with anything.
But was it cheating?
innovation? You can say.
Yeah, you're right. Like if it's past tech, it's done.
Yeah, and that car passed tech.
Yep,
This
done.
year it wouldn't have passed tech.
Simple
That's
as that.
fine. But
Yep.
I feel like it was.
Fair enough.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, at that note, we'll probably we'll end it. I reckon.
Record-breaking 2 hours and 35
that
minutes of
long?
awesome
Oh,
talking.
wow.
It goes quick. Good on you
No
guys.
worries.
Mate,
Thanks for having us.
Thank you
Yep,
so much.
thank
It's
you.
been an
Thank you.
absolute pleasure. And stay tuned. We can't wait to see you guys race in 2 rounds' time in ERC. And congratulations.
Good
Good
fun.
effort so far.
Get that
Thanks,
big
guys.
engine build, eh?
Yep, correct. Go build a
Cheers,
big
guys.
one.
Cool.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
See ya.